Supervisor Rotifer, would you please do us the honor of leading us in the pledge?
Sure. In light of today being Election Day and Saturday being Veterans Day in our nation, please join me in a salute and a pledge to the flag of the greatest nation on earth. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. I want to take just a quick minute, and there are a number of parts of our country that have really been suffering with a tremendous amount of violence in the last month. We can look to Las Vegas, New York, Texas, and we have a number of individuals that have just are suffering from a lot of pain. Here locally, we lost an individual that really dedicated his life to trying to help find solutions to different behavioral health issues. Pete Marinovich passed away, and he was one of the leading forces behind the Yes Partnership. And so I'd like to take a moment and reflect on his life and what the contribution is for all of those in our community that serve and really help try and find solutions and bring different partners to the table. And then lastly, I'd like us to reflect just for a minute also on the Sheriff's Department had a ceremony yesterday where they honored the individuals that serve us here in Tuolumne County that try and protect us and keep us safe. And so a moment to reflect on those that are in pain, those that we have lost that have provided tremendous contributions to this community, and those that are with us that serve to protect us and invest in our safety. Please join me. Thank you. Oral communication. This is that point in time where anyone may speak on something that is not on the printed agenda. Can I see a show of hands on how many would like to speak under oral communication? No one this morning for oral communication.
Good morning. Madam Chair, board members. Liz Peterson, County Administrator's Office. I have a non-agenda item for you this morning that I am requesting that you put on the agenda for your consideration. This item came to me yesterday, so subsequent to the posting of the agenda, and there is some sufficient urgency as it is a letter of support for a grant application that is due on November 13th. So your board will not have the chance to consider it before applications are due. Oh, yes, and let me read the title for you. The item would be consideration of approving correspondence in support of the Stanislaus and Tuolumne River Groundwater Basin Association Groundwater Sustainability Agency's application to the Department of Water Resources Sustainable Groundwater Planning Grant Program.
All right. So I'm going to look to County Council just for a process question because under oral communication, we cannot take action, and so this is not oral communication. This would be in addition to the agenda.
You can add an item on by vote of the board.
Correct. So to understand that, I just want it to be, I know Mr. Moore will be asking me for the right heading when we take a break. So I saw, is there a motion to
Sure.
add this to the agenda, and the item number would be 10A?
So, Madam Chair, I move to add this as an urgent action as item 10A to our agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Supervisor Rotifer and a second by Supervisor Hanfeld. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Liz.
Madam, are we still under public comment?
Yes, because I suspect, is there any additional public comment?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Penrose, Quartermaster, VFW, Post 4748 in Tuolumne. For over 2 years, we have been working with Supervisor Carl Rotifer on concerns that have arisen with the Big Dreams project. Recently, the Big Dreams organization announced that they have met their fundraising goals and plan on moving forward with the construction plans. The simple background on the issue is that we, as a represented veterans organization at the Tuolumne Veterans Memorial Hall, with the support of the TCVC, do not endorse the placement of this project on the hall grounds because it does not meet the criteria of honoring our veterans on what is considered hollow ground that has been dedicated to the service of our local and national veterans. There are also other issues that have been discussed concerning the overall development of Tuolumne that should be considered as well when we think of youth recreation projects such as this. We ask and urge you to consider the following requests if and when the park plans move forward. 1. There has been discussion on the preservation of the merry-go-round. Due to the multitude of generations in Tuolumne that have shared many memories on it, and that every past renovation of the park has maintained its preservation, and we expect the same for this project. 2. The parking around the hall needs to be addressed. There has been talks and plans proposed to level the parking around the playground, which would assist the handicapped attending the playground, and realigning and adding meridians in front of the hall. The parking project needs to be moved forward to support the hall and this project ASAP. We as a whole are concerned about, and have been for many years, the fact that children run and walk across the street from Whitehead Field to the hall playground every single day. The traffic is very high on Main Street, and we do need notable crosswalks painted or visible lighted ones to help with the safety of everyone crossing the street. If the Big Dreams Park moves forward at the vote of the supervisors, we do ask that you properly address the above concerns. Respectfully, the VFW Post 4748. If I have any more time, I respectfully give it to Aaron Rasmussen. Thank you.
Good morning. Aaron Rasmussen, commander of the VFW Post in Tuolumne and state chaplain. Recently, the Big Dreams Playground project has raised questions about the right of use or the original purpose of the Tuolumne Veterans Memorial Hall. According to California state veteran codes, like other state veterans codes, veterans halls are entrusted to the local governments. The question arises, what exactly is being entrusted? Many local governments have entered into long-standing lease agreements with various veteran service organizations, VSOs, like the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the American Legion, to entrust them with these veterans halls to ensure their original purpose. Veterans halls have either been donated to local governments or local taxes have been raised to construct them, like our two, Sonora Veterans Memorial Hall and Tuolumne Veterans Memorial Hall, by the Board of Supervisors in 1929. Recently, the city of Manteca spent over $1 million to construct a brand new Veterans Hall and leased it to their local VFW to oversee. Whether by an individual donation or by a majority of the local tax-paying citizens, the people have agreed in saying, as a way to give our gratitude to our local heroes, we dedicate this property, buildings, to the memory of our nation's greatest heroes, our military veterans. These halls do not merely stand in memory, but have much more purpose. Heroes have gone before me, came up with the following purposes that I believe we are entrusted with. These purposes shall be patriotic, historical, charitable, and educational, to preserve and strengthen fellowship among veterans, to assist veterans in need, to perpetuate the memory and the history of our departed veterans, and to assist their surviving spouses and orphans, to maintain true allegiance to the government of the United States of America and fidelity to its Constitution and laws, to foster true patriotism, to maintain and extend the institutions of American freedom, and preserve and defend the United States from all of her enemies. A quote taken from the VFW Congressional Charter of 1899. In the early 1990s, the local VSOs in the Sonora Veterans Memorial Hall had to sue the county over the right of use for their building. In short, the county had moved the veterans out of the building because they needed more room for courtrooms. As the story goes, the VSOs won the suit and since have enjoyed the oversight of the Sonora Veterans Memorial Hall under the goose of the Tuolumne County Veterans Committee, aka Facility Management. The Tuolumne County Veterans Memorial Hall was not named in the suit, but was put under the TCVC umbrella, but hasn't had the same oversight, unfortunately. For example, the Sonora Veterans Hall rentals are governed by the TCVC, and the rental fees go into the TCVC fund, whereas the Tuolumne Veterans Hall is overseen by the Tuolumne Park and Recreation District, and the fees are held by the TPRD. Note, TPRD is contracted to maintain the Tuolumne Hall and for the county. TPRD has been a great caretakers and respect the fact that veterans have priority use over the Veterans Hall. Currently, the VFW Post 4748 is the only VSO at the Tuolumne Veterans Hall, but this whole scenario makes for odd and confusing oversight issues. Due to the TCVC oversight of the Sonora Hall, the VSOs there are in no doubt entrusted with the hall. You can clearly see outside the Sonora Veterans Memorial Hall all the dedicated war memorials. Veterans of Tuolumne, VFW Post 4748, hasn't been given a formal veterans room until the late 1990s. Thanks to the TPRD in allowing us the use of that said room, and the VFW post established at this hall was in 1945. The earliest VSO in Tuolumne was the Tuolumne Veterans Club, formed after World War I. Their flag still stands in our veterans room today, and they were the ones who proposed to the Board of Supervisors in 1929 to build the two halls that we have today. World War I veteran Ernest Hodge was the founding member of the Tuolumne Veterans Club and was a sitting board member at the time. Currently, the only formal agreement, if any, we, the VFW Post 4748, have with the county to maintain our veterans room is based on a mere statement made by a former board member in a meeting around 2009. My main goal here today is to request the board to review the situation and the oversight of the Tuolumne Veterans Memorial Hall. I feel the best course to maintain the Tuolumne Veterans Memorial Hall's purpose would be to consider a long-term lease agreement with the VFW Post 4748, like many other counties have done with their VSOs. I also suggest the same be done with the Sonora Veterans Memorial Hall, that a long-term lease agreement be made with the representing VSOs there. This, in turn, could correct the TCVC as an advisory committee and not another facility management board like we currently are acting, dissolving the current funds amongst the representing VSOs. I am ultimately asking the board to allow local veterans more right of use to maintain the entrusted and original purposes of our sacred honored halls. Thank you for your service to our communities, and thank you for your support to the veterans.
Thank you. And obviously, we can't have a conversation now, but what I would like to ask is that you gentlemen work with Duke York and Supervisors Rodefer and Royce and address some of these issues and bring it back.
I would recommend that besides Mr. York, we need facilities in the discussion, and we also probably need Deputy CAO Richardson in there as well.
So I'll trust that you'll bring the appropriate people to the conversation.
Okay.
And also the big dreams and Park and Rec. All right, thank you. Can I ask how many more individuals there are for public comment? Okay. We will go over our allotted time. Do I have consensus to do that? All right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joan Kale. I'm here. I am a lifetime 70-year resident of Tuolumne County. And we pride ourselves on being the gateway to Yosemite. Yet the first town in Tuolumne County that the visitors from all over the world are going to see is a little town called Chinese Camp. A falling down, decrepit, sad picture of our historic past. We should be responsible, diligent keepers of our history, The most embarrassing view of all is the beautiful little church on the hill. If my family was buried there, I would be heartsick. How would you feel? The historic church stands, leans, and is almost falling down. The area where the cemetery is falling fences, unmowed weeds, and the need of total uplifting. We have many cemeteries in good condition and kept in repair. Why not the one that millions of tourists are going to see first? Okay, I beseech you to help the town, and especially the church on the hill in Chinese Camp. I would like your assistance in forming a committee to raise funds for our little embarrassing town of Chinese Camp, and please help us to find funds, corridor funds if possible, to bring back the beauty of the first town that the tourists will see in Tuolumne County. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. And again, we can't have conversation. I think that's in Supervisor Gray's district, and I'm sure he'll be reaching out to have a chat with you. And I would say that we
There
can
are
look at
some things in the works.
all the cemeteries. Thank you.
Well, I can discuss it. So it's called St. Xavier's. It's in Chinese Camp, and it's currently owned and operated by St. Patrick's Catholic Church over here. So I would suggest that the women go over here and chat with the pastor in charge. And the church has been, as my understanding, the Diocese of San Joaquin and the bishop want to demolish that church. So on behalf of Mr. Gray, I have reached out to ask that some of our high school seniors perhaps take on the church and the cemetery as a senior project and clean it up. And they could perhaps start some fundraising to see if, because we shouldn't have let the church fall into such disrepair. But it's not in your jurisdiction, it's in the church and the diocese, so that conversation should take place there. And on the previous speaker, I went and checked the property records. So it is not the Tuolumne Veterans Memorial Hall, it's the Tuolumne Memorial Hall, and it is owned by the county for the purposes of all county residents, not just the veterans. So as I recall, back in 2014, this board approved the Big Dreams project, and all she had to do was the fundraising. So I think it's a little late in the game to start having a hissy fit over this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no other public comment, we are going to move on to the consent calendar. Will the clerk please read the consent calendar?
Minutes of the meeting held on October 17th, 23rd, 25th, and 31st, 2017. Finding that a summary of ordinance numbers 3321 and 332 through 2232 were published. Adopting a resolution continuing the local state of emergency as required by the California Emergency Services Act, Article 14, Section 8630C, due to pervasive tree mortality. Adopting a resolution establishing the county debt management policy. Approving revised classifications for personal care assistant provider, airport technician, senior airport technician, lifeguard, water safety instructor, and facilities manager worker 1-2. Approving the appointment of Sally Joyce to the Tuolumne County Commission on Aging, and accepting the resignation of Luella Eastman from the Jamestown Cemetery District, and directing the clerk to send a letter of appreciation and post a notice of vacancy.
Would a member like any item pulled? Is there any public comment? All right, I'll bring it back.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
I have a motion from Supervisor Gray, a second from Supervisor Hanfeld. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Will the clerk please read item 8?
Presentation of Tuolumne County Service Award to Daniel Richardson of the County Administrator's Office for 20 years of service.
Mr. Pedro.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Daniel, could you join me up here? Have the rare opportunity to embarrass this man. So, Madam Chair, members of the board, in sports, a utility player is one who can play several positions competently, a sort of jack of all trades. Utility players rarely get the recognition they deserve. In baseball, each Major League Baseball team has at least one player who can be described as a utility player. In 1991, the Detroit Tigers' Tony Phillips was the first player to start 10 games at 5 different positions in the same season. Cesar Tovar, Cookie Rojas, Bert Campaneris, old A's fans, Shane Hattler, Don Kelly, Jose Oquendo, and Scott Sheldon all played every position, including pitcher, during their respective careers, with Tovar, Campaneris, Hattler, and Sheldon all doing it in one game, if you can imagine that, all positions in one game. I'm here to tell you that Daniel Richardson has been and is such an all-star utility player who adds value to the entire county organization, and the community. A little bit about Daniel. Daniel holds a BA in International Relations from BYU. I'm sure that helps him deal with folks in Tuttletown to work with the folks in Big Oak Flat. He has an MPA from his beloved KU, Kansas University, and he is a graduate of Leading, Educating, and Developing. That's the LEAD program from the University of Virginia. His work history with the county: he started with the county in October of 1997 as an administrative analyst, and over those next 8 years evolved up through the entire series. And then in January of 2005, he was promoted to the position of Deputy County Administrator. Daniel's primary county assignments during this time have included budget coordinator, the head of IT, which included a long-term stint as the interim IT manager during the Great Recession years, head of facilities management, head of purchasing, head of county airports, with several stints as interim airport manager, and was our longtime natural resource analyst. Just some examples of this utility infielder. Some of the diversity of his work. He's assisted with bargaining. He helped with the 2000 census and the redistricting that came out of that. He was instrumental in the county coming to own Kennedy Meadows. Again, big team effort, but he was a key part of that team. He served as a functional expert for PeopleSoft. That's our current ERP system, in creation of the county's budget system that ended up being used by several other counties. He's part of the county's OES response team. He's affectionately referred to as Richardson Real Estate, as he oversees our sales and leasing of county properties. He's our Jamestown mine expert and was instrumental in the reclamation of that site and has shown it to various folks over the years and helped to make sure it's maintained. He's done everything from copier replacements to user fee updates to evaluation of fleet services. He's backed B up in new employee orientation sessions. He's a customer service training team member. He's developed the new process and led the effort to create the first capital improvement program in nearly 2 decades. He's guided the county's web team, bringing us a new website and the TC Connect phone app. He helped coordinate and has served as a volunteer at the Father's Day Fly-In. He's assisted with county employee appreciation events. He's one of the county's team of Spanish interpreters, and actually we've used him as kind of the test. Can these folks really speak Spanish or not before we turn them loose on our public? He's recognized as the editor-in-chief in the CAO's office. Daniel is an excellent writer, and because of that, he also makes it an excellent editor for important things that are coming out of our office. And in general, he's just a constructive and strategic thinker. He's quiet, but he's thinking about stuff, and he has just been a great contributor over the years for the whole organization. So Daniel can and has been willing to do anything that we've asked of him. I mentioned he's not just a good utility player within the county organization, but also the community. In the community, he's been an interfaith volunteer, a president of the Twain Hart School Foundation, Tuolumne County Youth Soccer coach, Boy Scout leader, and merit badge counselor. He's a Just ACET youth tennis volunteer, basketball coach at Sonora Fitness. He's been a bishop in his church and shares his keyboard skills playing organ and piano for his church and others. And at home, he's the husband of his beautiful wife, Kathleen, who is here. Wave, Kathleen. And he's father of 6 great kids. So join me extending our thanks to Daniel for 20 years as a valued utility player for the county organization and our community. Daniel. There you go. Look at you.
Thank you. Obviously, Daniel Richardson, Deputy County Administrator. Believe it or not, when I was in third grade, I was the quarterback for my football team, flag football, mind you. Look at me. But I got the award at the end of the season. We were Orange County actually runner-up champions. We came in second. I couldn't make the last game, but I was given the award of most versatile player, and I didn't know what versatile meant at that time. So my coach told me that, hey, you played all the positions from center to receiver to running back to quarterback, and it's been 20 years. I asked my kids at the breakfast table this morning, hey, I'm going to get an award today. What do you think of being here for 20 years? And my 8-year-old daughter said, hey, not like we're leaving here, Daddy. I love Tuolumne County. And that's what it's been. We moved here from Kansas. My wife and I, it was a rough drive across the plains of the United States, across snowstorm. It was a horrible trip. We lost a shoe. Our daughter was thrown up in the U-Haul. And then we arrived at Tuolumne County, and things were blissful. We found housing. We found friends. We found amazing coworkers. I've survived through 3 wonderful CAOs and a bunch of coworkers. I enjoy the amazing board members that we've had through the years and your dedication to public service. I don't think that the community understands what you do for them. Why did I get into this career? We all wonder, why did someone choose local government as a career? This is what I trained in. Not everybody chose to, but I did. I wanted to serve the government that serves the people the best. And I found that in Tuolumne County, we do an amazing job of helping our families have a wonderful place to call home. And I found over the years that the more I give, the more I get. I'm always indebted as I give. And my kids and my beautiful wife are a testament to that as we make things better, from parks to airports to hopefully doing the right thing for the community. We benefit ourselves, and so we're always indebted to the community that we serve. So I appreciate the wonderful friends within the county and without, and I look forward to many more years. I'm not done yet, so thank you.
So just a second, Daniel. Yes, Supervisor Gray.
Daniel, the first day I met you, you were winding a clock in the lobby.
That's my baby out there.
And I asked him if that was your job. He goes, yeah, that's my job. I'm responsible for winding the clock. But
it's true.
The reason I say that, you're responsible for winding a lot of other things too. And I really appreciate the way that you go about your job, the calmness that you have. The response I get from you is immediate, and I really appreciate, and I've really enjoyed working with you. So thank you.
Thank you, John.
Supervisor Hanfeld.
Yeah, I'd echo those things. You're always there for us, and you're very responsive. I'm a little concerned about the rest of the county. Since you do everything, what are the rest of them doing?
Well, there's plenty to go around.
But no, I know how versatile you are. You have done a lot of things, and I don't think just saying thank you is enough. You're more appreciated than you know, and 20 years is a remarkable accomplishment here, and I want to thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Supervisor Rotifer.
Yeah, congratulations, Daniel. I'd like to focus on one thing that Craig talked about, because I think it's one of the things that you really bring to our county's government, and that is your ideas, your I'll call it out of the box thinking, but don't be stifled in those. That creativity is really needed, and I think you do a really, really good job at that. And I appreciate that more every day that I know you and work with you. So, again, congratulations. You do a great job.
Thank you.
Supervisor Royce.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be able to recognize you today, Daniel. You are a wonderful public servant, or a wonderful employee of Tuolumne County, and just a great man. Good balance, example for a lot of people, and your service is definitely appreciated by our board here. So, thank you very much.
Do we have additional staff members that would like to say something? All right, I just have one last, I concur with everything that's been said, Daniel, and you're invaluable to this county. I'd like everybody to hold up that sign again, though. And I appreciate that. I just wish it was a picture from 20 years ago, so we could witness the change, the evolution. Thank you, Daniel. Will the clerk please read item 9?
Consideration of approving certificates of recognition to the Blacksmith Shop and the Museum Committee members for all their work at Rocca Park, Blacksmith Shop Museum, and Park improvements.
Ms. Frank. Sorry. You're fine.
Should be sitting in the back row. Good morning, Maureen Frank. Here today before you on a tremendous occasion in regards to the spirit of this community. A group of citizens in the Jamestown area, we've seen it in the past with the gazebo, we've seen it with the Jamestown jail. They're currently working on a mural in downtown. Those citizens down there are so tremendous in regards to their community and making it better, and not just asking for our help, asking for our support, but taking projects on themselves. The item before you today is one of those projects. The Blacksmith Shop and Museum Committee had an opportunity to bring back and restore an old blacksmith shop that was rusting away in a field. And they looked at it as an opportunity to preserve a little bit of history and to also increase what they hope education and tourism in the downtown Jamestown area. In 2016, the Rocca Park Blacksmith Shop and Museum Committee formed. And these group of people came together, as I said, to bring back this blacksmith shop and really make it a shining example for the community. As plans started to develop in Rocca Park for this project, they also took on the concept of adding on to the park itself, and they put in ADA improvements to the park. One of the complaints that they've heard from the community was they wanted the park to be more accessible to people and more safe for people, wanted to make it more visually clear so you could see all the way through the park from Main Street. So this committee worked for a year and a half and took on this project and only asked for our support. The committee developed plans for the project. They raised funds. They solicited for donations and organized the work teams. As we'll see at noon today in our grand opening of this facility, you can really see the pride of restoring a little bit of history and the attention to detail that this group gave to this new asset that we have for the community of Jamestown. At this time, county staff would like to recognize the following people for their efforts in sitting on this committee for a year and a half and bringing this project to life. Those people are Jim Gormley, who was the project leader. He was there every single day championing on this project, twisting arms, asking for favors, getting donations. You had Mick Grimes, Brian Cameen, Tom Mullen, and his assistant, Rowdy, four-legged friend, Joe Sparanga, John Viglizzoni, and Steve Willie. Those people were tremendous, and staff would just like to thank them very much and ask your board to recognize them. What we'd like to do is they're not here today this morning, and we would like to present their certificates of appreciation at the presentation at noon.
Thank you, yes. We will be actually making the presentations at Rocca Park this afternoon, but we do have a process that we need to move through. So Supervisor Rotifer, do you have?
There we go. Before I make a motion, a lot of people may or may not be able to make it to Rocca Park this afternoon or at noon. So I just like to, I'm going to be making some comments there. I'll just make some similar comments here. This really is the latest, as Maureen stated. This is the latest in a storied past and list of community-based improvements in the downtown Jamestown area. She listed them, but just to remind everyone, the recovery of the historic jail, the development of the Walk of Fame, linking downtown Jamestown to Railtown, historic Railtown, the restoration of the gazebo, and by the way, if the 7 names that she named off sound familiar, a lot of them were the same names that were involved in many of these, and particularly the recent completion of the gazebo project. And there is still an ongoing mural project that's going to complete the suite of improvements. And we will be celebrating today the dedication not just to the blacksmith shop and the museum, but all the associated park improvements down there. And honestly, most notably, I had a talk yesterday with Mr. Gormley, and he said that although it was the biggest pain in the you-know-where of the project, he says actually it's probably the one thing that he's most proud of, and that's the ADA access walkway. It really makes access into not just the park but downtown Jamestown much easier for people that are challenged. Mo tells me this has been a 1.5-year effort, but it seems to me like I've been going to meetings on it for longer than that, but I'll trust her. She's got the calendar. But they did everything, soup to nuts. They planned it, they raised the funds, and they did the work. And I think that that's really significant. It really was a community effort in many ways. Leaders and workers came out of the community, and not just the Jamestown community. There were businesses and entrepreneurs all over the county. SPI donated materials. I think the local ranchers donated a lot of stuff. So it's not just the Jamestown community, but our greater Tuolumne community. It's just another example of a community project and a community success. And for those people that really care about other facilities or whatever throughout the county, this is really a model of how to get stuff done, okay? The county can't be springing for every dime of improvements out here. We just have a very limited budget, and I want to congratulate Jamestown and their community down there and all the people that contributed this. This is really a model of how to do this right, and it will be today, and it will continue to be for years to come, a wonderful contribution to our remembrance of the history of downtown Jamestown. And with that, Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the certificates of appreciation.
Second.
So before I take the motion, Mr. Pedro, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to add my voice to everything that Supervisor Rutherford just said, but I also, because she was in charge of putting the ceremony together, I doubt if she built this in, so I'm going to say it now. Mo has been instrumental in all that's gone on down at Roca Park. That's what she does best. She sees the need. She bonds with people. She has a ball with them, and likewise, she's really a key part of projects like this, the glue. And just wanted to offer words of thanks to Mo. She's worked very hard down there.
Absolutely. Is there any public comment? All right, seeing none, I will bring this back to the board.
Here comes the public.
He's not really a member of the public, but
Duke York, a citizen of Jamestown. I want to say we've been working on that place for a long time. We've done a lot of improvements. It continues, as Carl said, it's part of a bigger, much bigger picture of, and the people of Jamestown have always been very supportive of that. And you just look at all the volunteers that came out of the woodwork, literally, to provide those services they need. The trusses were donated. Every time Jim Gormley had a need, The community stepped up and provided what they needed to get it done. And they were there last night at 3 o'clock working, getting that last little spool up so that they'd have a nice presentation at noon today. So I just, again, Tom and Rowdy, spot on. Every weekend I'd see them out there. Thank you.
Supervisor Hanfield.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Supervisor Rutherford said. I think Jamestown sets an example for all our communities. They take charge of their own destiny. They have a vision, and they make it happen. And our other communities could learn from that example. I congratulate Jamestown on their effort.
So, adding exclamation point to that comment, I would, I have a motion from Supervisor Rotifer, a second from Supervisor Gray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Right. Will the clerk please read item 10?
Presentation and update on the operations of the Veteran Service Office.
Good morning. Is this working?
Yes, it's on.
All right, before I get started, they're probably going to be angry about this, but in light of the week that it is and the holiday that's coming up, despite our differences, I would like the veterans in the room to stand up and we can recognize the sacrifices that they've made for our country and our community. Okay, thank you for that indulgence. So I'm Mark Orlando.
Hey, Mark, you can crank that mic up, however.
Crank it up.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to crank it up. There we go.
There you
Okay, Mark Orlando. I'm about your 6-month-old County Veteran Service officer, and I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure to come before the board and talk with these wonderful folks here. So what precipitated my desire to come before the board today is essentially a report that is issued each year by the CalVet, California Department of Veterans Affairs. It's required by law that they report to the legislator, California legislator. And I wanted to make sure that those numbers, as they get filtered down to our offices, get filtered down to the board and also the community at large, just to kind of get an impression of what's going on at the Veteran Service Office in our county here. So I got a little presentation, very informal. Please interrupt if you need to, or give me the hurry up signal, and I'll get through it so we can move on to the next item. So thank you again for the opportunity. All right. Thank you, Steve. Okay, just to clarify something, and I don't mean to insult anybody in the room, but there is a common misconception on who the people in the County Veteran Service Office are. They think we're the VA. It's just natural. The VA is a big entity, so they come in thinking, well, you're part of the VA. As a matter of pride, of course, we want to delineate that we are county employees and that we are not VA employees. So that's just something I want to emphasize here, and so that the public at large can understand as well that we are county employees. Just to give you a little background of the folks who work in the office, of course, one of them's on well-deserved vacation today, and the other two are so dedicated that they would rather remain in the office than be here and have me recognize them. But I'm going to do it anyways because I believe they might be watching or are going to watch. So, and these are the boots on the ground. These are the folks in the office that are doing the amazing work that happens there. So they deserve the credit. Michelle McMaster, she's been doing it for 16 years with us. She is nationally known as being one of the best. And I may sound braggy, but I am being completely honest with you. Vicki Side's been with the office for 7 years. Michelle has taught her everything that she knows. She's very good. April Wyatt, she's been with us for 3 years now, and wasn't going to be part of the presentation because it's just breaking news, but April is going to be moving on. She's going to go work for the County Office of Education. We're going to miss her. She was a tremendous asset in the office, and with her over 15 years of administrative experience, it's going to leave a little bit of a gap, but we will make do with that. So that's just breaking news within the last few days. And then, of course, me, Veteran Service Officer, former Coast Guard officer for just shy of 12 years, and VSO, including my time in Lassen County, now just over a year. Thank you. Some of the basic services that our offices provide, and this is mainly for just the public knowledge, which is the biggest reason why I'm here, is to inform people of what we're doing there. Disability compensation, that's our bread and butter right there. And then just going down the line, our veteran ID card, that's an office-specific thing that we do. It's not a VA-tied endeavor. We create little IDs so that our vets can enjoy some additional perks outside in the community. So that's a real neat thing that we do. Healthcare, we work with the VA clinic over there, making sure that our veterans are appropriately signed up for VA healthcare. And of course, much, much more. The list, it gets added to daily. You'd be surprised. Okay, so getting to the nitty-gritty, the funding. Our budget, about $250,000 and change for the office. 75% of it comes from our county general fund. 25% of it comes from the state of California. We're hoping that'll increase at some point in the near future because that would be helpful. And where does that 25% come from? Well, our office generates certain claims for individuals as one of the things that we do, such as disability compensation claim for a veteran. That translates into a point for the California Department of Veterans Affairs called our subvention. Every 6 months, they do an audit. We get audited every 6 months. It's fun. Every 6 months, they audit and they add up those points and, of course, make sure that those are points that we've actually earned, and sometimes they have to take them. Sometimes we have to fight back for them. But we get those points, and then those points translate into funding. Same goes with Medi-Cal cost avoidance. That's another big one. When we sign a veteran up for VA health care, where they or their family were either in the process of or receiving Medi-Cal, we are going to get funding for helping provide them with a new federal type benefit and getting them off the Medi-Cal welfare type of system. So we get points again for that, and that translates into money. And then again, last but not least is the license plate program. If you've ever driven around and see a veteran-themed license plate, with the money that the state generates from that, some of it comes back to our offices. It's not much, but it does help. In fact, it's helped a lot with this year's budget. Next. So some of the numbers, and these are the numbers, I had to look at these many times just to believe what I was seeing here. Just short of 2 million veterans in our state. Veteran service offices, county veteran service offices, just like ours, are responsible for over $400 million in federal money being awarded to veterans just in that time period. Those are new benefits coming to the state of California veterans as a direct result of the work that county veteran service offices are performing. The total amount that veterans are getting from new awards plus existing awards, that's $7 billion. I had to really look that number because normally billions, it's just a number and the word billion, but they present it with all the zeros and numbers. So I had to really look that up. That to me was mind-boggling. $7 billion to our veterans to help them live comfortably. Next. So break it down by what is going on here in Tuolumne County. Last count, approximately 6,200 veterans. By CalVet standards, that's considered a very small county. That's no offense to our county. It's just how they like to break it down so that we can easily compare ourselves to other counties. Our Veteran Service Office, the County Veteran Service Office, in fiscal year 16-17, generated over $3 million in new awards, new benefits to our veteran population. If you count what other VSOs are doing in the county, veteran service organizations, plus what the veterans are making in existing benefits, it's over $23 million a year. That's a lot of money in my mind. Like it says, not a typo, and those are earned benefits, and I just like to emphasize those are earned benefits. It's what they sacrifice their time for, and they're well-deserved, and we're happy to help facilitate them getting those. Next. So, again, this is kind of re-emphasizing because it's just, I think it needs to be. $250,000 budget, $3 million generated by our office. Those folks over there, 3 folks doing an amazing job. That money, in turn, goes to the veteran, which comes back into, hopefully, primarily the Tuolumne County economy, but the economy in general, which is good. Small office generates a significant amount of money for the people that we serve. Again, an entitlement. And what that money translates into is allowing these veterans to live more comfortably and not fear homelessness or not being able to get the medical care that they need for service-connected injuries. So psychologically, aside from the numbers alone, it's extremely important that we recognize the benefits that these veterans are receiving and how it affects their daily lives. And I put stuff in there. I like that word. Okay. This is all good. It's great. But there's a lot of work to be done, so I'm not going to sit here and say that we're sitting pretty because we have a lot of work to do, and I'm ready to tackle this. Utilization rate. Now, that's a low number, 18%. Keep in mind, not every veteran that falls outside of that number is someone that has not been served. That's just a number indicating what part of the veteran population is receiving a compensation or a pension benefit. They may have already been screened and found that, they're not eligible or whatnot. So don't be misled that 82% of our veteran population has no idea who we are or what we do. However, it is still an extremely low number that bears some watching. 82%. We need to make sure all of those folks, whether they have had exposure to our office or not, have that opportunity. We need to make sure that they have the knowledge and that information is out there so that they can make a decision whether they want to come in or not. How can we accomplish this? Go ahead. Currently, according to CalVet, our veteran service offices only spend about 9% on outreach. To me, that's unacceptable. In order to reach this 82%, we have to be out there informing them and letting them know what they potentially could be entitled to. Obviously, why I was hired was to help mitigate that 82%, to get that information out there. So that's one of my main goals, is to start a very robust outreach program, which has already been initiated, to begin to reach these individuals. Some of the initiatives that I'm undertaking, we do have conferences every couple of 6 months or so where all the VSOs meet up. I don't think that's enough. I've already started getting together with our bordering county veteran service officers, and we're going to start basically our own little collaborative, and we're going to talk about what each office does, best practices, and other ideas so that we can help each other. Friendly competition is good. We want to look better than the other county, of course, but ultimately we want to serve our veterans the best that we can. Veterans health, just working with the VA health clinic here, just making sure that our veterans realize that they could potentially be eligible for health care. Incarcerated veterans, again, working directly with our prisons and our jails and opening up a line of communication so that they know where to call if they have questions about veterans. Homeless veterans, obviously we know homelessness in Tuolumne County is an issue at this point in time, and veterans homelessness is no different. So we want to reach out with a multitude of local organizations, including veterans service organizations, and make sure that we're doing the best that we can.
So, Mark, I got a question on
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
Because with the recent pit count and ACCA's work, have you been in communication with them? Because I think they reported 30 homeless vets. So if you haven't, I would encourage you to be talking to the director of ACCA.
Okay. All right, employment, another big issue in the county, and a big issue with veterans, and any one of these I can personally attest to. It's very important that, again, outreach, liaisoning with the veteran community, but just as much all the other interested partners, to make sure that there is a network in existence, that if a veteran comes into our office, even though job placement is not our primary function in the office, I want to make sure that I send these people to the right place and they get the assistance that they need to get back on their feet. Same with education. I'm working directly with Columbia College, going to go to career fairs there, looking to institute a work-study program with their assistance to help augment our office and also allow a veteran or a dependent a potential employment opportunity with us. Again, direct engagement with our local partners, and that includes the veteran service organizations, and especially those represented today. Again, I've heard it said before, it doesn't matter how many veteran service organizations or people there are that want to help veterans, the more the merrier. So let's all work together to accomplish that goal. And then dissemination of information, speaking before a board, going to the newspaper, going to talk to the radio, and just talking about veterans benefits. And more importantly, because even though I've been doing this for a year, I learn something new every 5 minutes or so when I'm in the office. There's so much to know. It's extremely frustrating for professionals. You can only imagine what it's like for the veterans and the community trying to sort through this. So I try to just keep it simple. If you know a veteran's family, something along those lines, twice removed, thrice removed, just direct them towards us. We will sort it out. We will figure out what it is that we can do to help them, if anything. So no need to complicate it with, well, I heard on the radio or this magazine said that. Just come talk to us, and we're going to sort it out. The experts are going to know, or find out who to talk to get that information. Next. Some future initiatives. And some of these are kind of already in place through other organizations, and it just needs to be fine-tuned, and I'm happy about that. A veteran outreach task force, that sounds like a nice fancy buzzword, so I liked it. There's already something like that in the works. We had a meeting last week with assisting with the homeless population, so I'm looking forward to continuing that and getting that up and running and being a full participant of that. A mobile platform. So many of our vets, for one reason or another, just can't come to the office, and we can't expect them to because of their circumstances. It'd be nice to go talk to them. It'd be really nice to be able to go to them wherever they are and have a platform with a computer, a printer, maybe partner with another agency, depending on what kind of situation it is, mental health or health in general, and go to these people and facilitate starting the process for benefits right then and there. I think that would be an awesome tool to have and something I would like to continue to look into. VSO presence. There's a lot of different meetings, events. I'd love to be able to go to all of them, but I can't. But I certainly would like to increase my presence at those, again, for outreach and education. We're here. We want to help. And then again, continue through social media and all those great platforms that we have to disseminate information to get that to our veteran population. How can I help? You being the supervisors, you being the community and the veteran service organizations. I encourage you, if you haven't come or haven't in a while, come by our office just to say hi. It's kind of a morale booster seeing folks demonstrate their interest, even though I'm not saying you're not. I know you are, but just seeing that is kind of a morale booster, and we can kind of walk you through how things have been going in the office recently. So please come on by anytime. Directly for the board members, solicit to your constituents on what they think about the Veteran Service offices or the state of affairs in the Veteran Service offices or in general, so that you can come tell us and we can use that to improve our services. Always looking for ways to improve. Community participation. I can't emphasize that enough. We can't do what we do in any way, shape, or form without the support of this board and the support of the community in general. And of course, ask a lot of questions. You're not going to learn unless you ask. Again, I appreciate your time. This, like I said, this is an annual publication of this data. I would like to make it something on a more regular basis so that you guys can be most informed of what the most current information is regarding our offices and the state of affairs of veteran services. Have a wonderful day.
So, Mark, before I go to questions from the board, can you tell anybody that might be listening what the office hours are and how they would contact you?
Sure. Okay, so our office hours, we're open Monday through Friday. The doors open at 9 every day on Monday through Friday, and they close at 4. Mondays are by appointment only, so please call. However, I put a caveat on that. A veteran's safety and security is utmost importance, so if there is an issue, I encourage you to contact us anytime, and I'm available anytime, even after those hours, to answer questions and, to the best of my ability, go somewhere if need be to assist. So, although those are appointment days, and we would appreciate that that's honored by our clientele, don't let it stop you if there's something coming up. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are walk-in days. And we do take a lunch break from noon to 1, so the office will be closed then. So if you come during those hours, the door may be locked, but please either call at 1 or just come back at 1 and we'll be there.
Yeah.
209-533-8260. 6280. Forgive my 6-month-oldness. Okay?
6280.
I still can't remember my email address. I got to pull out a card.
Most of us, unfortunately, just hit a button anymore.
It's kind of embarrassing, but I have a picture on my phone. I'm like, 209. Okay. Anyways, thank you. Those are the and then Friday is also an appointment day, same hours.
Supervisor Gray.
I was fortunate to be able to send a couple people your way that you have really helped here in the last year. One of the questions that has come up to me is the relationship between the Veterans Office and that clinic, as far as helping the relationship between the veteran and the clinic. Is that something that you can help with from time to time?
That's a great question, and I addressed that essentially on day one. As a veteran, I utilize the services of the clinic. So I went there both personally and professionally, and I immediately established a open relationship with the staff there, so that instead of them just forwarding folks to us, here's a card, go here, they're better explaining what it is that we can potentially help them with, and vice versa. And that line of communication also leads to, if somebody comes to our office and says, I had a horrible experience there, I'm not saying that's happened, but if it does, I can reach out directly to them and have an open discussion about what happened and how do we mitigate this in the future. So that is a very important relationship that I've tried to foster in my short time here.
All right, thank you.
Supervisor Rotifer.
Yeah. One, just to clarify the answer to the previous question, the clinic is a VA clinic. It is run by the VA. We are not responsible for anything that happens, good or bad, at the VA clinic, but it is important for us to, as we do with the VA when we're dealing with them on any benefits issue or anything, to make sure that the concerns of our veterans in this county are understood by the VA, and I think that's Mark's role in that. But the clinic, I just want to be clear to all of our vets in particular, but the rest of our citizens as well, that the VA clinic is a veterans administration operation, and we have no direct control over it. We just can make our concerns known, so that's important. I just wanted, for those of you that were wondering why I was fiddling with my computer while Mark was doing his wonderful presentation, it was because I was running some numbers. The numbers that Mark put up there are powerful, but let's break it down a little bit. The California numbers, although huge, turn out in terms of the new benefits that were achieved this year, turn out to be $242.49 per vet. Okay, Tuolumne County numbers are $531.77. In other words, we did almost twice as good as the state average in bringing new benefits to our veterans. And while that seems like a low number, realize that, again, Mark's talking about only less than 1/5 of our veterans actually get served right now. So you can multiply that number by 5, and that's what we've been doing. So, again, I think I'm going to leave it to the public comment to tell you what they think, because that's what's really important. But I think that our VSO office is doing a superb job. I do agree with everything that Mark said. We've got a lot of outreach that we can do to get to more veterans, and that's a large part of, I think, what this board had in mind when we hired Mark on, and I know he's headed in that direction. But I just wanted to put some numbers to how good our Veteran Service Office actually is. Thank you.
So I'm going to go to public comment in just a moment, but I want to thank you, Mark, also, because along with the outreach, something that I was looking for that you really, I think, are trying to wrap your arms around is how do we form those partnerships. And you mentioned the community college. And I know you've been reaching out to Mother-in-law job training, but again, it's really how do we capitalize on the partnerships that we have to maximize what we can do for the veterans. And so I would just encourage you to keep really working on those collaborations and make those all part of the solution. I know you're doing that, and I really appreciate that effort. Supervisor Hanfeld.
Yeah, by the way, thank you, Mark, and I appreciate your service, not only to our country, but to Tuolumne County being here. You've had 6 months in the ground, so the honeymoon's over. I would like to spend a little time with you and suggest that now maybe it's time to reach out to some of the other organizations. Supervisor Brennan mentioned Atkin, the pit count. Homeless veterans hurts my heart, that whole thing. A couple years ago, you don't know about this, but because you weren't here, but Supervisor Rotifer and I went after some VASH vouchers because people in other organizations were trying to give ours away. And so Sheila Shanahan, if you don't know her, you need to meet her, and our housing people and some others. So I just want to offer my assistance help deal with things. I'm on motherload job training, and that's an area where perhaps we can work with veterans too. So there's others. ATCA is one she mentioned. By the way, I texted Raj and see if I can find how many veterans on the count, because I had pictures of the slides and I couldn't find it. But when I get the number, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
So thank you for being here. Appreciate you, and please thank your staff for their dedication.
I certainly will.
Thank you.
So this was an information item only. I'd ask if there's any public comment at this time.
Aaron Rasmussen, local veteran. I have to tell you, thank you very much for hiring Mark. Before you hired Mark, I'm a volunteer service officer myself, and I was getting a high volume of local young veterans, especially, coming to me for help instead of going to the local service office for one reason or another. And since you've hired Mark on, I've been able to push that workload more towards the county to help funding for the county, and we've been working really well together. So this is a very successful thing that you've done by hiring Mark, and I only encourage you to give him more hours and more money to do the job that he's doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? All right. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate the update and the very hard work that you and your staff are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, I'd like to take a 15-minute recess, and so we will reconvene at 10:25. All right, we are going to reconvene the Board of Supervisors meeting. Will the clerk please read item 10A?
This is consideration of approving correspondence in support of the Stanislaus and Tuolumne River Groundwater Basin Association Groundwater Sustainability Agency's application to the Department of Water Resource Sustainable Groundwater Planning Grant Program.
Ms. Peterson.
Thank you. Liz Peterson, County Administrator's Office. Good morning, Madam Chair, board members. Let me take you back to May 2017, not that long ago, when your board elected to become the Groundwater Sustainability Agency for the approximately 1,000 acres of the Modesto Sub-Basin that falls within Tuolumne County's jurisdiction. As a reminder, this basin in total is about 250,000 acres, and it's primarily in Stanislaus County. Let's see here, the Stanislaus and Tuolumne Rivers Groundwater Basin Association is a group of folks that have been in existence actually since the early 90s. And they, just shortly before your board, they elected to become the Groundwater Sustainability Agency for the remainder of the Modesto Sub-Basin. That collaborative group includes the cities of Oakdale, Riverbank, Modesto, the Modesto and Oakdale irrigation districts, and also the city of Waterford. So they are applying for a planning grant, the Groundwater Sustainability Planning Grant program that's offered by the Department of Water Resources. This is the first step in kind of this next phase of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA as it's better known. They are applying for the planning grant to begin their groundwater sustainability plan. This is the requirement for all groundwater basins in California. And because the Modesto Sub-Basin is considered a high priority basin, the groundwater sustainability plan must be developed and implemented by 2022. So this is the first step in that process. The Department of Water Resources has made Proposition 1 funds available to create these plans. And so the Stanislaus and Tuolumne Rivers Groundwater Basin Association, spearheaded by the Modesto Irrigation District, they're the ones kind of taking this planning process on. They reached out to me yesterday requesting that your board, as the other small but still significant portion of the Modesto Subbasin, that your board write a letter in support of their grant application. Their grant is, or the grant application is due November 13th.
Quick question.
Yes.
So since we have joined that group, are we attending meetings?
Well, so we haven't technically joined their group. We, at this time, for the Modesto Subbasin, there are 2 groundwater sustainability agencies. The Stanislaus Tuolumne Rivers one and ours. We are working on a kind of cooperative agreement, something of that nature. There are some options for your board to consider that I will bring at a later date. But I know Calaveras County, who's dealing with this same thing just north of us, they did enter into a cooperative agreement with Stanislaus County for this kind of groundwater management issues.
So I just think it's very important that if we are supporting funding for asking for a strategic plan, that we be part of that
Absolutely.
planning
Yeah,
process.
right. And so, like I mentioned, there is a cooperative agreement. Actually, County Council is in the process of reviewing that to make sure that this is something that would be most beneficial for the board to enter into. There are some other options, but I am in communication with them consistently, and the planning process will not be moving forward without your involvement. This is only an application to receive money to begin the planning process.
Right.
Right.
But
Yes.
we want to
Absolutely.
have a seat at the table.
Absolutely. Right.
All right. Any other questions? Is there any public comment? All right, I'll bring this back.
Madam Chair, I'll move on staff recommendation to approve the letter.
Second.
I have a motion from Supervisor Rotifer, a second from Supervisor Hanfeld. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
And you get the award for the longest, most convoluted title, and
I know. Thank you.
Daniel needs to get busy doing his editing again.
Yes.
All right. Will the clerk please read item 11?
Consideration of approving a tentative financing plan for Law and Justice Center and technology projects.
Okay. Madam Chair and members of the board, in the past when we've talked about financing the Law and Justice projects, we've had that as one item. Then we've talked about financing a couple of our more important IT projects, and we've dealt with those separately. Today, based upon the recommendations from some of the underwriters that we've spoken to as we approach the financing of these projects, is to put them together because it will save money in the cost of issuance for those projects. So I just want to make sure that folks understand that these have been discussed separately, but now because it's going to save the county money, we're trying to bring them together. And I know there's been a little bit of confusion about numbers and comparisons. But we have two worlds that are now coming together in order to save the taxpayers some money. So, knowing that we're talking about two different projects, let me talk about the financing need. As your board knows, in the Law and Justice Projects world, we're talking primarily the juvenile center, the road and utility extensions that will take the infrastructure from the juvenile center on up to where the jail is ultimately going to be built. That's the second piece, and the third piece is the jail itself. I make mention of some attachments to your memo that I drew to your attention. It's the last 4 pages that are in there, and I'm just going to flash the last page of that of your packet, which is the detail sheet, multiple years. Showing multiple years cost for the jail component. And I'm just flashing that as a reminder that how detailed these things are. And the jail, of course, is the biggest, most expensive of these projects. And that we have been going through these, numerous times, throughout each year as we run up to delivering these projects, and then we keep doing it to track them. I just want to pause at this point and on your second page of your memo, it outlines the amount of money that we're looking at potentially borrowing for the those 3 Law and Justice Center projects, and it totals up to about $19.7 million, again, with the biggest piece of that, approximately $15 million of that is comprised of borrowing for the jail. I just want to stop and before we go any further, if it were me, I'd want to know, Craig, if we counted all the costs, because now we're getting close. Your next item talks about awarding a contract here. There's more costs to this project than just the jail construction contract itself. And I just want to tell you that I think we have done the best job that we possibly can. Things do evolve as you move forward, but we feel that we do have our arms around this now. The biggest area that could have varied was the construction contract itself. Again, I'll try not to get into that too much. That's your next item. But now we're not talking about projections anymore. We're talking about the results of a competitive bid. And so we've included that low bid number in here based on the advice of the design team and construction management team, Lionakis and Moss. They've recommended a 5% contingency be placed on top of that low bid number. That's what's reflected in these charts. I just want to affirm to you that the other biggest costs in here are design costs with Lionakis, our construction management costs with Moss. These are negotiated prices with these folks. We have things such as our PG&E charges, to bring the power to the jail. That's a contract price that your board has already approved. Since the Finance Committee last week, just to mention, we have confirmed pricing on the sewer and water connection fees that have been added in here. And basically from your special testing, your biology services, your commissioning, again, these are negotiated contract prices. Our insurance for the project is based on a quote as recent as last week, based upon a $41 million project through Alliant, our carrier through the EIA Excess Insurance Authority. We have confirmed these are big items here, your furnishing and equipment. Had Mo dig those things out, and I know working with Lieutenant Commander McCaig, working with her and Moss and Mo, they've gone through that. It's 6 pages of spreadsheet detailing every piece of equipment, and it actually totals to under $500,000, but I'm carrying a $500,000 figure in your furnishings, equipment, and your equipment, specialized equipment that has radio system in it, has a jail management system in it, it has the entire computer network and system that will go into that building. All those prices have been confirmed, and very recently. And on top, also in miscellaneous items, I'm just going to mention during the Finance Committee, we talked about the cost of bond counsel, disclosure counsel, a financial advisor. That's where I put that cost. So that's a little different than what we had. It's consistent with what we discussed. That's where it resides. And then on top of everything else, nearly $2.5 million of contingencies built into the construction line. There's another, $2.2 million in that construction line in contingencies. There's another $500,000 contingency over the whole project. So in total, about $2.5 million. I've racked my brain. I thought about bringing in the stack of contracts and the takeoffs just to demonstrate to your board. But that's what I'd want to know if I'm you at this point when you're talking about financing something like this. Have we counted the cost before we get to signing contracts and moving forward? And all I can do is sit here and say that humbly, to the best of our abilities, I think we have our arms around this, and I think we're in a good place as far as having a good feel for these expenses that we're going to incur. So getting back to the presentation, just wanted to mention, so we're talking about $19.7 million. That has increased since budget time, August 25th. That number of 19.7 is about $3.4 million higher than what we estimated then. Why? And it's because of the bid price that came in. And the real culprit here is that the estimate that the budget time numbers were built upon was a construction estimate put together by the project engineer That was cost escalated up to July, assuming that we started in July, which was the original plan. But of course, we didn't get there. And why didn't we get there? As your board knows, it took 6 months longer to get the plans approved by the state than what we had anticipated. So cost escalation has a big impact, especially talking about a big project like this. So 2.7 of this is direct cost escalation due to delays related to the delay in getting plans back from the state. I've mentioned in here that we have built in also that TUD water and sewer and connection fees. We've also increased our insurance cost estimate and our contingency cost estimate commensurate with the increase in the construction cost. And we've built in the financial counsel and advisory services. So why has that changed? It's the delay, and it's directly related to how slow it was getting those plans approved by the state of California. And you know that staff worked hard to get those things out of there, and I believe board members also put some phone calls in to try and get those out sooner. On this page, it's mentioned that, and this was discussed at the Finance Committee, part of the borrowing, and I'm going to mention on the same page under fiscal 16-17, it shows that we would borrow just over $3 million for costs borne in fiscal 16-17. The auditor controller, Deb Batista, she went back and looked to see can we actually claim all of that money and borrow against it, and she came up with a number of approximately $973,000 of that could not be justified for borrowing because some of that was duplicate with monies that we were also getting reimbursement from the state on. So it's a kind of a good news, bad news. The good news is we can't borrow for it, so ultimately we will end up borrowing less than what is in this report, and I'll get there when we get to the numbers. The bad news is that means the general fund will need to cover it, and I've got some good news about how we think we can cover that a little bit later in the report. But Debbie and I are on the same page, agree we need to audible a little bit, reduce the borrowing, and pay some of that with general fund separate from the financing that's before you. On the IT infrastructure costs, this has not changed very much. There was a small computational error that was noted at the Finance Committee, but we're looking at $3.1 million. Again, that's for the network upgrade, countywide network upgrade, and our ERP replacement system, which is the main system for our finance system, payroll system, HR system, and budget system for the county. Again, those are based on very detailed takeoffs and contract pricing. As far as the proposed structure of the proposed financing, we've discussed that this would likely be done through a certificate of participation process. That is indeed what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about doing this as like a serial bond by putting IT and the IT shorter-lived IT projects together with the longer-term building projects. The IT infrastructure shouldn't be borrowed for more than you shouldn't borrow more than for 10 years on something like that, because that will become, that's technology. It'll become obsolescent. So one serial will be a 10-year borrowing for just the IT piece. The other part will be 30-year borrowing for the capital projects. As far as security, again, for some time we've talked about the need to use other county buildings as the security for this borrowing through a mechanism called asset transfer. Again, just why can't we just borrow against the the jail and the juvenile center to cover to act as the security for any borrowing? It's because the state themselves borrowed against that in order to give us the grant money that we've received, so that's not available to us. So in your staff report is a list of potential candidates that we would turn to use as security for the borrowing for the capital component. Well, for all of this, all of the borrowing before you. The amount to be borrowed, near the bottom of page 3, it talks about $19.66 million for the law and justice projects, and for the IT projects, $3,110,000. Based on the discussion we had yesterday, again, we'll be back. This is a tentative plan, but Deb and I feel that the amount for the law and justice project will be closer to $18.7 million, so less. We'll be borrowing less over a 30-year period. The estimated interest rate, 3.5%. We won't know that until we actually get to market, but that appears to be, as we sit here today, the type of interest rate that we could expect. And then on annual payments, at the top of page 4, we're looking at about $1,060,000 for the law and justice projects, a full year debt service. For the IT projects, about $370,000 per year for the 10 years. Deb and I talked about this morning. This is also, just to let the board know, this is based upon a monthly payment scenario. The underwriters are saying they really like us to do it annual payments. I know Deb specifically requested, well, can we at least do semi-annual so you can get more interest savings, by making, more principal payment earlier. We'll work that out. I just want you to know that this is based on a monthly takeoff, and we'll just have to work with the underwriters as we approach the actual financing. As far as timing, staff hopes to present a recommended financing team at your next meeting. That's for bond counsel, disclosure counsel, financial advisory services, the underwriter, and the rating agency. And again, do that at your next meeting. Some of those contracts will be ready at your next meeting. Some will come at your first meeting in December. But once the team has actually been finalized, then we can give you a detailed schedule for bringing this borrowing to the market and closing it. What we've been discussing and still saying we'd like to shoot for is closing this in January. That may be unrealistic. That'd be very, very aggressive. So it may be closer to actual closing, in February. But again, we'll know more once we have the financing team secured. As far as your budget impacts, based on these numbers, and again, this will change if we're somewhat, because we'd be borrowing less. But based on the numbers that are in this and the capital budget, we need to increase the appropriations by roughly $1.1 million with an offsetting increase in loan proceeds. Total debt service could be, worst case scenario, about $110,000 higher than what we have budgeted there. But stay tuned on that. I'll come back to that in a second. Under the IT infrastructure, we actually have more budget than we need. I'm going to pass this down, Randy. We have more budget than what we need. We could actually reduce our appropriations by $260,000, decrease the loan proceeds, and actually we have more debt service funded there than we would need, even under a conservative approach. And I just want to mention that this is an area that, again, is going to fluctuate until we actually get to market and the numbers settle, both what we're going to borrow, the terms of that borrowing, the payment schedules, and all those things. It's going to vary. And so I'm not recommending any changes in the budget today. What I've just passed down, I don't want to get into a lot of detail. You can look at it, and we can talk about it at your pleasure. But on the left side of what I just passed out gives you an idea of where these numbers came from, how they were calculated, what's in the staff report, are the columns or the charts on the left side. On the right side are numbers that we think may actually be more realistic, what's going to happen. Based on the input that we've received from some underwriters, that they're looking at us not starting payments on this until the very end of this fiscal year or the beginning of next year. It's nothing that we asked them. It's just the nature of the beast. Once you close, you fund the financing, and money start to flow, that they wouldn't actually ask for payments until, quite likely, until the beginning of next fiscal year. So on the right side of this chart is what those numbers would be if those payments actually didn't start until next fiscal year. And then if you look at the very bottom right-hand side of the chart I just passed out, you're going to see two numbers. You're going to, well, I'll pick three numbers in the far right. There's a $675,000 number. That's the amount of debt service that we would not need to spend this year out of this year's budget. You can see that $973,000 figure that Debbie had calculated that we can't borrow for. We have to come up with other means to pay for it. And then there's a $298,000 delta. That delta plus some additional interest costs that we're going to have just carrying the construction for a time, we think is going to be somewhere between $400,000 to $500,000 when this is all said and done. That cost we would spread out and pay over the next 2 years. And again, as this evolves, we'll bring that back. But that we feel pretty confident that we can pay out of savings from debt service. We can pay that delta off, about 60% of that off this year, and the remaining, it's going to be somewhere in the $400,000 to $500,000 range we could pay off in the next 2 years. So I don't want to get in a lot of detail, but I want you to see these numbers and where they came from. And as I say that too, if we borrow less, instead of $19.7 million for the project, we say borrow $18.7, our payments will be less. So you're going to see some movement in these numbers. We did take this to the Finance Committee. I mean, this is new information. Again, what's on the left side is consistent with what we presented. The right side is just looking at this more critically. That's new. But the Finance Committee, when they met on October 31st, voted to recommend that the full board approve this tentative financing plan for law and justice and IT infrastructure. And I just want to emphasize, we're not borrowing anything today. We're not setting anything formally in action, but staff will proceed and with securing these, securing the financial services that we need, and it will basically follow the financing structure that is contained in this memo. So it is staff's recommendation that your board go ahead and approve the tentative financing plan for the Law and Justice Center and Information Technology Infrastructure projects as outlined in this report. And I just said a mouthful, and there must be questions.
We'll start to my left with Supervisor Rutherford.
Yeah, I don't really have any specific questions, but I hope that no one in the public thinks that anyone on this board doesn't understand that borrowing $20-some million isn't a very important and big step. This is something that we really need to do. It is a long-term debt service, and I personally understand that very seriously, but we cannot continue to operate our current jail. That's just reality. I wish we had $22 million so we don't have to go in debt, but that's not the reality right now. This is an important project for this county. It's important for the future safety and well-being of our citizens out there. There really is no alternative. I was at the Finance Committee meeting. There was some concern about the amount of money, and I share that concern. But I also recognize that it's just something that we really need to do in order to do the most basic of the jobs that a county government is entrusted to do, and that's the public safety. Thank you.
Supervisor Gray.
Yeah, on that same line, it's never been a secret that we were going to have to borrow money to get this job done. But I want to let the public know that 9 years ago we were looking at an $80 million jail, and I think that staff and the working group has really done an excellent job to pare that down to where something that I don't want to say reasonable, because millions and millions of dollars is never reasonable, but the fact is we need it. Like Carl says, we have to have a new jail, And I think all the work that we've done over the years has brought it to a point to where I have to say it's affordable. It's nobody wants to borrow this money, but we're not going to have a jail unless we do. So I thank all of the staff for all the hard work to close that almost $40 million gap where we were in the beginning. So thank you.
Right. At this time, then, I'd like to know if there's any public comment.
My name is Debbie Batista, and I am the county clerk and auditor controller. And since I brought up some concerns at the Finance Committee, I thought that I should come back and reassure everybody that I feel more confident in the numbers. Craig did an excellent job because he's the only one who could come up with the costs. And he stepped me through everything, and he's pretty confident that they put all the numbers that they knew about and even put in some cushions so that because one of my biggest fears, if you weren't at the Finance Committee, is that we were going to borrow $22 million and we really needed $24 million, or whatever that number would be. He's pretty confident, and I believe and have faith in him that the numbers that he came up for the construction and everything, now that we have the bids in, are pretty close to what we're going to need. I do want to clarify one thing. Of the $3 million that this board approved last year to have as a loan from the post-retirement fund to the capital fund for legitimate costs for this project, for the whole law and justice project, not just the jail, the $1 million that is in question were legitimate costs. Unfortunately, because of this bonding period, there is only a window of time that we can go backwards. That window of time is from April 21st, 2017 through forward. Unfortunately, we had about $1 million of expenses that we paid prior to April 21st. So therefore, we cannot use this bonding loan process to claim those. So that's why Craig and I kind of came up with another possibility of paying that off, and we will probably need to continue that loan for another 2 years, but instead of being $3 million, it will only be less than $1 million, hopefully about $500,000. The other thing, just to ditto Craig, is none of these numbers are going to be put into cement. The interest won't be in cement. The cost of the loans won't be in cement. A lot of it won't be done until they actually put it on the market and the bonds are bought. So we will be coming back with cleanup. If you remember when we did the side fund, the numbers that was presented to you, we actually got a check back for about $5,000 because their numbers were overstated by 5. We can have something like that. We could have the interest rate go up a little bit, interest rate go down a little bit. I really would like to work with whoever we end up bonding this and have semi-annual payments. We will pay in the long run a whole lot less interest than we only make one payment a year. So that's all I had to say, unless you have any other questions.
No, I just appreciate that comment because I did hear that in Craig's, what the information that he gave us. And so I'm glad to hear that you're going to be sitting down with them and really trying to move us towards that.
If you remember what we did with which is not quite the same, but what we did with the side fund for the pension bonds, I actually pay quarterly.
And just to comment, kind of in that area, just to remind people again of how we've been posturing ourselves for a number of years, but we have been doing a number of instances where when we had the opportunity, we paid off existing debt early, knowing that we were going to be in a position where we were going to have to assume future debt. So again, hats off to CAO Pedro for leading us in that direction, but we have been anticipating this for a number of years and planning for it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want a little clarification. I did come to the Finance Committee meeting, and I think more people from the county should take an interest in our finances. So what I understood last week was we were going to borrow about $22 million. This sounds like more, it could be 22.8, but it could possibly come down. And one of the questions I asked was, what was our annual debt service? So you've got all these figures, and I just want a bottom line total. So it could be conceivably we'd go into debt 23 million, give or take.
Actually, it would, with what we were just talking about, it would be less than 22 million. That's still a big number, but it's less than what we were talking about at
If
the
you
Finance
take out
Committee.
that 1.8
Correct,
or,
for
right,
the reasons
okay.
that, Deb stated. And then on the debt service, again, I put an estimate in here between combined law and justice and IT infrastructure, approximately 1.4 million per year total. But after 10 years, about 370 of that will go away.
Okay, because it was like
leaving-
2.4 million on the 16 million. But you think on the larger amount, the debt service is going to be less.
I don't remember a 2.4 million, number.
That came out in a board meeting here, I thought.
Okay. I don't recall that number.
Okay.
But this, that's on page 4 of the memo.
Okay.
And again, as Deb said, because all kinds of things are going to change, those numbers are going to change somewhat, up or down, depending upon how much we borrow.
I just want a ballpark
Okay,
total figure.
1.4 million that will reduce after 10 years to about
Okay.
$1,060,000
Okay.
for another 20.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, I'm going to bring this back to the board.
Madam Chair, I'll move on staff recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion from Supervisor Rotifer, a second from Supervisor Gray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0, and I just really want to thank the team that's been working so hard on this.
And encourage them to keep working
And
hard.
keep working hard. Yes, it's been a year. All right, will the clerk please read item 12?
Consideration of awarding the Sheriff J.H. Jack Dambacker Detention Center project to Harris Construction Co., Inc., conditioned upon the state's approval.
Mo.
Hey. Good morning again, Mo.
Hey, Mo.
Frank. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
It's true. Yeah.
Before you get started, I have to recuse myself on this item due to Government Code Section 87100. One of the subcontractors that is listed is a source of income for myself that I've done business with, so I've been instructed by County Council to exit.
Not a problem. So we're here before you today for a very exciting day for all of us. Before you today is the illustrious team. Have next to me Under Sheriff Bill Pooley, and next to him is Lieutenant Tamara McKay. We're missing one vital, important member of our team, and that's Sheriff Mealy. Unfortunately, he can't be here due to a family emergency that he needs to attend to. But we're excited. We've worked very hard on this for several years, and glad to be before you. As your board is aware, through SB 1022 and AB 900, the Tuolumne County was awarded over $33 million for the construction of a new Tuolumne County jail. The jail that has been designed by Lionakis is roughly 63,000 square feet, and it contains the following elements. There are 8 housing units for a total of 230 beds. We have administrative support areas, intake, program areas, and I think that's one of the areas that we're most excited to have in this new facility. A medical clinic, laundry, kitchen, and of course vehicle sally port. As Craig was mentioning in the earlier item, in May 22nd, 2017, a cost estimate was done for this project, and at that time, the estimate for construction was roughly $38.9 million. in this estimate was other non-bid type of items. For example, we included in that cost estimate county-funded OSIP program, which is basically the insurance program, same program that we did for the juvenile facility, and we had construction contingencies of a little bit over $1.8 million. When you adjust these items into the cost estimate, the bid for this project, or the cost estimate for this project, I should say, should have been around $36.4 million. Again, this estimate was assumed that we would start this project in July 2017. It wasn't for the reasons that Craig stated to you earlier. No matter how hard your staff tried, moving things sometimes through the state is cumbersome, and they have their own processes. And so, unfortunately, we weren't able to go out to bid in July. But on September 5th, we had all our approvals ready to go, and when we came before you with plans and specs, and approval was given to us to go out to bid. Upon the close of the bid, the staff received 3 bids. Bernard's Brothers from San Fernando bid $41.7 million. Broward's Builders from Woodland had an estimate, a construction proposal of $40 million, and Harris Construction from Fresno came in at $39.1 million. Each of these bids were then given to our construction manager firm Moss, and then County Counsel Carlin Drivdahl went through it and looked at the bids and found them both found them in compliance and conformance, and have determined that Harris Construction was the apparent lowest responsible bidder for this project. Again, as I said, the difference between the 2.7 difference between the construction estimate and the bids that we received can be directly relayed to the delay in the cost of the project. Instead of starting in, like I said, in July, we're now asking to start in earnest in March for this. And so that's a huge escalation time period, and we believe that's the reason for the difference in between the estimate and what we received. As Craig was just mentioning in his item, also the full cost of this project for the next 2 years, it's a 20-month construction cycle, as you are aware, is currently projected to be $48.2 million. The full project cost includes such items as we were just mentioning. It includes the project contingencies, it includes the architectural services, special equipment, inspection and testing costs, furnishings, the work we need to do with PG&E, and also TUD to bring in sewer and water connections. As soon as the bids were open and vetted, all the information on the proposals were sent up to the state for their review and processing, and we anticipate receiving approval from the state no later than late December. The sheriff and his staff have been apprised of what their proposals were and how we are proceeding with this project, and they're in concurrence with proceeding as laid out in this memo. With that, staff is recommending that your board award the Sheriff J.H. or Jack Dambacker Detention Center project to Harris Construction Company in the amount of $39,157,000, and it needs to be contingent upon state approval coming in late December. Besides us at the table, Harris Construction is here, and so is Tom Russell from Moss Construction, in case you had any questions from us.
Supervisor Gray.
The contingency upon state approval, do we anticipate that the state making any changes that are going to drive up this cost?
Not at this time. And to that end, lessons learned definitely all the way through the process. We have asked them, especially in light of the juvenile facility and new PREA regulations coming about, we did ask them about the location and the direction of our toilets to make sure that that was correct, for example. So we see no issues. They have reviewed the plans. They have approved them. They have looked at the bids that we've received and saw no issues. They're doing the staff work right now to then forward them on to the State Public Works Board.
Thank you.
No other questions? This time I'd ask if there's any public comment. I'm going to bring this back to the board.
Madam Chair, I move to award the Sheriff J.H. Jack Dambecker Detention Center project to Harris Construction Company, Inc. in the amount of $39,157,000 conditioned upon state approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Supervisor Rotifer, a second from Supervisor Gray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with Supervisor Royce recused. I'd like to congratulate Harris Construction on being the successful bidders and ask if you'd like to come up to the podium and say anything, or at least let the public see how we are so wisely going to spend their dollars.
We just want to say it's an honor and a privilege to be part of the project, and we're really looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I feel like we need to give a standing ovation.
Not yet, not yet, not yet.
Big sigh.
We still need state approval.
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
If I could just comment, Evan, we're done on the action. You'll like this part anyway. Is your board has made it really clear. I mean, this is the biggest capital project we've ever done. And, you know, there's always risks and everything. And we've heard as staff that, you know, what you expect of us is nothing less than excellence as we proceed into this project. And I guarantee I know the county team from the sheriff's office, over in my office, council, auditor's office, all involved are committed to doing just that. We've had that discussion with, you know, Moss. They're an incredibly important part of this, our construction management team. We've had that discussion with Lionakis, our architect, and now I'm going to say hi to Harris Construction, and they're incredibly important, obviously, to this project, and all of us are going to have to be our absolute best, commit ourselves to excellence through this to deliver this, you know, for this community.
And this board will hold you to that.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, just
Yes.
one additional comment. First, I want to thank our staff team and our contracting team that helped put all of this together and get us here. The key so far has been good, constant, and consistent communications. And the key going forward is going to be the same thing. So thank you very much, those that have gotten us here. Welcome aboard, and let's keep the good momentum going. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Let's see. Will the clerk please read item 13?
Reports.
I will start to my left. Nothing from County Council.
Just real quickly, on the 18th, I, along with Supervisor Hanbelt, spoke and discussed at the Business Council meeting in Columbia, focusing predominantly on those things specific to the Columbia area, but we got a little far afield on some other things too. On the 20th, I also went with Supervisor Hanbelt to a meeting that was sponsored by Mountain Counties Water Resource Association up in Folsom, that was really a meeting of Valley and Mountain County supervisors, and talked about how we can cooperate more as a group and coordinate some of our efforts as the state continues to make incursions into water rights issues and things like that. Out of that discussion came a study that has been presented to the Calaveras County Board by Dennis Mills, my counterpart across the river, that was done by an agency headed up by Jack Cox on the impacts to water quality, quantity, and all of that stuff, and our environment in general associated with marijuana. And I think we really need to be, I'm not saying that changes the direction we go. It just, what it does is it amplifies, I think, a little bit some of the concerns that we need to be aware of as we do go down that track. And I can get that study. I think it's already out there. And then the 27th, a week later, again, Supervisor Hanvelt and I went up to the Mountain Counties Water Resources Association meeting. Very good meeting. The whole subject of that was the necessity to deal with forestry management, effective forestry management, in order to have any real serious impact on water quality and water quantity up in the, they're inextricably linked. And we've been talking about that for a long time, but I thought it was a very, very good session. Mr. Branham from the Sierra Nevada Conservancy was there, and several leaders, I don't remember them all, but several other leaders in both the Water and Government Committee were, including the new executive director of the water boards was introduced to us there. So, yep. So the 30th, along with Supervisor Brennan, attended, and I'll let her talk about that, but did attend the ribbon cutting at the Transit Center. And on the 31st, we did have our Finance Committee meeting, which has been discussed before. That evening, I went to a very wonderful event for a very wonderful lady of our community. Connie O'Connor is retiring as the executive director for the Tuolumne County Arts Alliance, and it was a fete and a going away for her, and it was very well attended and very nice comments. I did attend the Behavioral Health Advisory Committee meeting on the 1st, and we got Supervisor Brennan and I got an update from staff on the 2nd on our general plan ad hoc. I just mentioned that only so the board doesn't think that we're neglecting our duties. We are moving forward on that, and it is working out very, very well. I feel an obligation to report back every now and then, and we did talk a little bit about how that will happen in the relatively near future in terms of getting an update to the board. And then on the 5th, I attended one of my favorite things, and that's the first Sunday of the month, American Legion breakfast at the Veterans Hall here in Sonora. It's a wonderful little fundraiser. Doesn't cost you very much, and you get a pretty nice breakfast. Thank you.
Supervisor Royce. Supervisor Gray.
Just a short one. Attended the NDRC meeting. Sorry. Attended the NDRC meeting in Tuolumne, not trying to step on Supervisor Royce's toes, but I have a lot of constituents that are close by there, and it was well attended. A lot of good ideas, and I think it parallels what the meeting that was held in Groveland. Same needs, same wants, pretty close, and I think it was a good meeting. Also, yesterday, toured some more property in the Groveland area of possible sites for a center there. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on a field trip with the SWIFT group, and we're going to be looking at the NDRC fire break areas where they had received about $700,000 in money to construct those. That's really important. The work that's been done by that group in pointing out the areas where fire breaks are needed really did a lot with the Detwater fire and also the Rim fire. So I think it's money well spent. And other than that, that's my report.
Supervisor Hanfield.
Well, in addition to the things Supervisor Rutherford reported out on, the water meetings and business council and things like that, I attended the TCAR, Tuolumne County Association of Realtors installation dinner on the 20th. You were there. That's right. I remember seeing you there. On the 21st, Habitat for Humanity house party and the Farm Bureau dinner. Both the same night. That was kind of interesting. Anyway.
Did you overeat?
Hmm?
I said, did you overeat?
No, I didn't. Well, I probably did, but I didn't eat at both places. That was it. On the 23rd, RCRC sponsored an event they called FREED, which stands for Forest Resiliency, Environment, and Economic Development. And they had a lot of people from the governor's office, the UC system, California State University system, and others. There were two supervisors there, Supervisor Ken and myself, and we were looking at economic opportunity with the forest thing. And this has great promise, and will be more coming on that issue. Supervisor Brennan and I both went to the ATCA report out on the pit count. I want to thank Supervisor Brennan for her efforts to make that thing happen. I just don't, the grant and everything else, she did a lot of work on that. So, and very interesting results, of a number that was much larger than anything we'd seen before, and really a big deal. On the 30th, I spent an hour with the new forest supervisor. We're going to probably see him at our next regular meeting, introducing himself here. Jason's a very interesting guy, a lot of energy and ideas. Looking forward to good things out of him. And right after that, Saul Gomez, who is from the governor's office, he's a deputy cabinet secretary, came and spent the day with us out on the forest looking at tree mortality and things. The governor's office is really interested in that. That's a really big deal. I also went to Connie O'Connor's retirement. I wish her well. That I'm thrilled for her. I don't know if that woman can stay retired. She's just got too much energy to do that. The next afternoon, I went to Mariposa County at the request of RCRC and attended the San Joaquin Valley Regional Association of California Counties meeting, which we are not part of. But there was a lot of interesting presentations on cannabis, on water, on legislation, and there's a program called All Dads Matter, which basically a very successful program in Merced County. They hosted this thing. And I put copies of most of that in the supervisors' boxes as well as other members of the staff. So the other thing I want to mention is on Monday, there's a weather threat on this, but we are privileged at the behest of both Congressman LaMalfa and Congressman McClintock to host the new National Forest Director, Tony Took. So Supervisor Brenner and I will be attending that and hopefully get some time with him. So we're looking forward to that. He's the new guy on the block, and he has a lot of energy, a lot of new ideas, and we're looking for good things out of the new director. So with that, that's my report.
Mr. Pedro.
Madam Chair, I'll just mention three things. Did get a phone message from Rocky Deal, Congressman McClintock's top field person, and he called to let us know that H.R. 2936, the Resilient Forest Act, passed the House late last week, and the Congressman wanted to extend his thanks for the board's support on that, and he said that he'll probably be in contact with us seeking our support to also help get that passed in the Senate. But that's legislation your board had supported, and Rocky just doing what he does so well, keeping us abreast at every step of the way. And then we did receive a communication from NACO that as we get close to the end of this fiscal year, with budgets being passed up in, or being discussed in Congress. They're trying to get a letter from a coalition of impacted counties related to PILT and secure rural schools to get that included, full funding included in this year's budget bills. And I just want to remind the board, and just to say that since your board already has this in your ledge platform, you've approved numerous letters. We're going to work directly with the chair and get that done. So we'll have a letter that will go out. But just by way of reminder, how important is PILT? It's in this year's budget. It's a $2.3 million revenue to our general fund. It is one of the biggest discretionary revenue sources that we have. And this last year they didn't approve it until May. Our fiscal year ended June 30. It doesn't make your gut feel real good when things like that wait. So that's why they want to get this in and get it in now. And by way of reminder on secure rural schools, in the heyday, we used to receive $1 million each, county schools and roads. The last year that we received secure rural schools in 15-16, we received approximately $500,000 each, schools and roads. And it's diverted to a formula payment system now where we're only receiving about $204,000 per year, schools and roads. And that's huge. And so trying to get that reauthorized, and the way this is worded is it's to reauthorize secure rural schools as a bridge funding mechanism until a more permanent, sustainable solution is enacted with respect to funding off of our national forests. So we'll get that in. And then the last thing is, we had discussed at the last meeting briefly about a recruitment plan for the Director of Behavioral Health. I just want to let you know we're following the same process your board previously approved. It was effective in getting us a good candidate pool, and we're just going to re-implement that same recruitment process. We should be going out to recruitment, immediately, and hope to have applications in by the end of December, go through our multi-panel interview process where your board would be interviewing you'd be conducting interviews with top candidates hopefully in February with appointment to happen in March. And again, until that time, your Assistant HSA Director, Steve Boyack, will continue to serve as the acting director. And the end of my report.
Mr. Marr. Right, and I have just a couple of additional items. I want to start by thanking Mr. Rocky Deal. I had coffee with him last Friday, and we had a very long conversation about PILT. The congressman has been a tremendous supporter on a number of the challenges that we face in rural counties, and so I want to thank him for all of his effort. We had a meeting with Area 12 Agency on Aging on Thursday, and they are starting the HICAP process, which is the Medicare Part B, and you can go to the office or call for an appointment, and they are doing counseling. They save our seniors a tremendous amount of money in the county, and so that is now starting. The number up there at the agency is 532-6272. And the last thing that I'd like to remind the public is our November 14th joint marijuana task force and Board of Supervisors meeting will be held we will be meeting at 4 o'clock in the Opera Hall, and would encourage anyone that is interested in this topic to please join us. That concludes reports, and item 14 has been pulled, and so we will stand in recess until we reconvene at 12 o'clock for the presentation and ribbon cutting of the Roca Park Blacksmith Shop Museum in Jamestown.
Oh, wait a minute. I like your perspective better. There wouldn't be here.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to be here.
All right. It is 1:30, and we are going to reconvene the Board of Supervisors meeting. Will the clerk please read our first 1:30 appointment?
This is a public hearing to consider Chafee, a resolution to amend the existing agricultural management plan for William Sinak Land Conservation Contract and to determine the proposed farm housing is compatible use under the Williamson Act.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Here are the vision, mission, and values policies of Tuolumne County, which we utilize to process every project application received by the Community Resources Agency. One of our values, in response to current and future needs of the community, is to encourage innovation and creative approaches to problem solving. We have an application from Scott and Julie Chafee to amend their existing agricultural management plan on their 37.3-acre Williamson Act contracted parcel in order to construct a second residence for the use of farm labor housing on their property. The property is located at 26333 Powell Ranch Road, southwest of its intersections with Ward's Ferry Road. The current zoning is AE 37AP, exclusive agricultural, 37-acre minimum, agricultural preserve combining. The general plan land use designation is agricultural. The state's Williamson Act Land Conservation Program began in 1965 to help farmers preserve agricultural land. In exchange for entering into a 10-year contract, the property owner receives a tax reduction on the property. The contract automatically renews every December 31st for another 10 years and remains on the property until a notice of non-renewal is served for it to come out of the Williamson Act program. Resolution 10604, South Tuolumne County, enforces the state of California's Williamson Act Land Conservation Program. Rule 4B6 states that any proposed changes to the land use of a previously approved contract requires that the property owner submit a new agricultural management plan, have the changes reviewed by the Agriculture Advisory Committee, and have final approval by the Board of Supervisors. Resolution 10604 and also Board of Supervisors Resolution 1315 contains the policies on the use of farm labor housing on Williamson Act contracted land. One policy is to allow farm labor housing for a family member who is actively engaged in the commercial agricultural use of the property. On August 2, 2017, the property owners submitted an application to modify their agricultural management plan and request farm labor housing on their 37.3-acre property for a family member. This is the location map for the project site, which is located at the intersection of Powell Ranch Road and Ward's Ferry Road in the Richards Ranch subdivision. The existing residence and proposed second residence will be located close to the northern property line. The project site is located within two agriculture preserves. Agriculture Preserve 73 is shown as the dotted area on the map. Agriculture Preserve 80 is shown as the darker gray area on the map. The project was considered by the Agriculture Advisory Committee at its meeting on September 21, 2017. At that meeting, the Agriculture Advisory Committee did consider the request and did discuss whether a small goat operation needed a second residence on the site for farm labor, but the committee unanimously recommended approval of amending the agricultural management plan to allow one farm labor housing unit on the site. The Board of Supervisors can approve the project with modifications, deny the project, or even send the project back to staff to work on any outstanding issues. The Community Resources Agency recommends making the findings to approve amending the agricultural management plan and that the proposed farm labor housing is a compatible use under the Williamson Act program pursuant to Rule 8B of Resolution 10604. Any questions?
Are there any board questions? All right. This is a public hearing, so we will open the public hearing at 1:34, and I'd ask for any comment. Seeing no comment, we will close the public hearing at, if I talk slowly, we'll go to 1:35. 1:34:56. And
move that we approve the agricultural management plan based on findings A through E. And also move that we determine the proposed farm labor housing is compatible under Williamson Act based on findings.
Second.
I have a motion from Supervisor Gray, a second from Supervisor Hanfeld. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Will the clerk please read our second 1:30 appointment?
Public hearing to consider to oust a resolution to amend the existing agricultural management plan for Williamson Act land conservation contract and to the determination that the proposed farmland housing is compatible use under the Williamson Act.
Excuse me for not introducing myself before. My name is Renee Hendry. I'm the project planner for these two Williamson Act projects. Here once again are the vision, mission, and values policies of Tuolumne County, which we utilize to process every project application we receive. One of our values is to encourage innovation and creative approaches to problem solving. We have an application from Dennis and Kathy Doust to amend their existing agricultural management plan on their 126-acre Williamson Act contracted parcel in order to construct a third residence for the use of farm labor housing. The property is located at 17084 Limekiln Road, east of the intersection with Jury Ranch Road and Limekiln Road. The current zoning is exclusive agricultural, 37-acre minimum, and open space agricultural preserve combining. Approximately 12.7 acres of open space are located alongside the riparian corridor of Curtis Creek on the site. The general plan land use designation is agriculture. The state's Williamson Act Land Conservation Program began in 1965 to help farmers preserve agricultural land. In exchange for preserving the land, the property owners do receive a tax reduction on the property. The contract does automatically renew every December 31st until a notice of non-renewal is served on the property. Resolution 10604 is how the Tuolumne County enforces the State of California's Williamson Act program. Rule 4B6 states that any proposed changes to the land use of a previously approved contract requires that the property owner submit a new agricultural management plan, have the changes reviewed by the Agriculture Advisory Committee, and have approval by the Board of Supervisors. Resolution 10604 and Board of Supervisors Resolution 1350 contains policies for the use of farm labor housing on Williamson Act contracted land. One policy is to allow farm labor housing for a family member who is actively engaged in the commercial use of the property. On August 2, 2017, the property owner submitted an application to modify their agricultural management plan and request farm labor housing on their 126-acre property for a family member. The project site is located on this map on Limekiln Road near its intersection with Jury Ranch Road. There are two existing residents currently. A proposed third residence will be located on the site to be utilized as the farm labor quarters. The project site is located within inside Agriculture Preserve 139, which does contain other properties in the Williamson Act program. The project was considered by the Agriculture Advisory Committee at its meeting on September 21, 2017. The committee unanimously recommended approval of amending the agricultural management plan to allow one farm labor housing unit on the site. The Board of Supervisors can approve the project with modifications, deny the project, or even send the project back to staff to work on any outstanding issues. The Community Resources Agency recommends making the findings to approve amending the agricultural management plan and that the proposed farm labor housing is a compatible use under the Williamson Act program pursuant to Rule 8B of Resolution 10604. Any questions?
Are there any board questions? All right, this is a public hearing. We will open the public hearing at 1:39. Is there anyone that wishes to speak? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 1:39:32. I'll bring it back to the board.
Madam Chair, it's on. Madam Chair, I move that we approve amending the agricultural management plan based on findings 1A through 1E, and also move that the Board of Supervisors determine the proposed farm labor housing is a compatible use under the Williamson Act based on findings 2A through 2F.
Second.
I have a motion from Supervisor Gray, a second from Supervisor Rotifer. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Right. Will the clerk please read our third
130 appointment.
So this is an appeal hearing to
Actually,
consider.
I'm going to stop you for just a second and let us, give us a chance to change staff positions here. All right, will the clerk please read our third 130 appointment?
So this is an appeal hearing to consider the Tuolumne County Community Resources Agency decision regarding the revocation of the following permit: Granite Land Holdings, LLC, Justin Dambacker conditional use permit.
All right. And as a reminder, before I turn this over to staff, I just want to let everyone understand the process. There will be a presentation from county staff, then a presentation from the appellant. The county staff can rebut the appellant's presentation. Then there will be questions from the Board of Supervisors, public comment, board discussion, and then board action. So we'll start with a presentation from county staff.
Supervisors, before we get started, I want to address briefly a procedural matter. For these types of appeals under our ordinance code, the ordinance code directs it to go to the Planning Commission before it comes to your board. That did not occur in this case. We discussed it with the appellant before the hearing, and he agreed to waive the Planning Commission portion of the appeal procedures and let your board hear this directly.
Thank you for that information. Staff?
Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is David Gonsalves. For the public's information, I'm the Community Resource Agency Director. Beside me is Quincy Yaley, the Assistant Community Resource Agency Director, to my right, and obviously Carlin Drivdahl from our council on my left-hand side. In addition, my staff are all here to answer any questions you may have pertinent to the information contained within the staff report and for our presentation. We're here today to discuss the appeal of the revocation of conditional use permit 15002 held by Granite Land Holdings, LLC, and Justin Dambacker. The conditional use permit for information 15002 is to allow a green waste composting facility with indoor composting windrows and associated equipment, including mechanical grinder. The proposed project site is 13.7 acres. It's zoned M1 light industrial with some mixed O1 space as well. The project is located at the intersection of Eagle Drive and Eagle Drive West in Sonora, which is interesting. It's in Tuolumne Road area. So, Madam Chair, since you've covered the procedural appeal process, I won't cover that again. The board action before you today, we'll go through that briefly for you and the audience. The item before the Board of Supervisors is to hear an appeal of the revocation of the conditional use permit 15002. The board can only take action with respect to the appeal of the revocation and cannot change the approved conditions of the permit. However, the conditions may be added if the revocation is reversed. Therefore, the board may find to, and I'll go through these, uphold the revocation of conditional use permit 15002, reverse the revocation of conditional use permit 002, reverse the revocation of conditional use permit 150002 with conditions to bring the project into compliance. Let me just start by saying how we got here. I think that's important. Sometimes on issues like this, they become very emotional. I want to assure the board how this came up. If you look at item number 10 on the board, it alludes to how this process began. In early of 2017, as recently after I was hired, the permittee contacted the Community Resource Agency regarding the potential of an off-site sign. During that research, that was asked by the applicant to research the sign, the permit conditions, and several other issues that I won't go into at this point. It was during that time, the in-depth research, that the items that are going to be discussed today came to light. Through numerous meetings with the applicant and discussions with both myself, Assistant Director Yaley, and staff, we have tried to work through those issues. I myself have had more than, I'll just say 3, quite a few meetings and phone calls with the applicant. Actually, the appellant is a better way to put this. So let me go back to a little bit of process history here so we can touch upon that for yourselves and the audience. The application for site plan review, SPR 14002, was submitted to CRA prior to my arrival in 2014 for a propane distribution facility, 2 general industrial buildings, which I will call shell permits, and a green waste composting facility, which is the application that we're discussing today. Further analysis by the existing staff prior to Quincy and I being here determined that a conditional use permit would be issued for the green waste. That permit is required pursuant to Section 1738030 of our county ordinance. That is for processing of composting material, solid waste diversions from the waste stream for recycling purposes. In March of 2015, the Planning Commission approved the site plan review, SPR 14002, and conditional use permit 15002, subject to the conditions which we were talked about, which were signed by the applicant before we go to commission. Just so you know, those conditions are signed and approved by the applicants before moving forward. Sometimes that takes some time back and forth. I wasn't here at that time, but that is standard procedure, and we will continue to do that under my direction. The conditions were required to mitigate, some of the conditions were required to mitigate impacts from the initial study that was conducted by the CRA staff at the time, and in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. In addition, the conditions were added to the project to ensure compliance with federal, state, and local ordinances, regulations. Just want to make sure we understand that those conditions are standard throughout the industry for several of these types of things. So in May of 2015, the Planning Division, CRA, approved the grading permit G15016 for grading activities associated with the CUP we're talking about today, 15002. Along with that, there were conditions that were placed upon the grading permit as well, and that's, again, G15016. On June 2015, CRA approved a zoning affidavit for the business named Greenworks, LLC. The approval noted that they should comply with conditions of a conditional use permit 15002. In June of 2015, Environmental Health Local Enforcement Agency issued a permit, which is general before a facility begins to operate, for the green waste facility. Along with that are all the conditions that I'll cover later about the requirements to submit the paperwork, maintain records, and keep those. So we, when we're ready to provide our information to the state, we have that, as well as if any complaints come in, we have those information either in our house or with the applicant to follow up on any complaints that may come, or just standard compliance. In September 2015, a compliance letter was generated by CRA to the permittee, the appellant here, from the Planning Division, indicating the need to pay traffic mitigation fees and comply with conditions 47, adherence to the site plan, and 63, condition 63. In there, you'll note distinctly that the conditions that we talked about weren't mentioned yet because they were not up and running fully at that time. And that was mainly regarding off-site signage and signage that is not a concern for compliance at this time. Only reason I brought it up is just a notification of the previous indication about adherence to the traffic mitigation fees. In July, as you note, I was hired in January. In July of 2017, after meeting with the applicant and several phone calls with both myself and Quincy, the assistant director, we sent out a letter, again, similar to the one in 2015, outlining the need to comply with conditions of the site plan review and conditional use permit issued back in 2015. And that was sent out in July of 2017, July 20th to be specific. On July 27th, Mr. Holland spoke with Assistant Director Yaley, and she agreed to extend the timelines and hope that we would resolve the issue without being here as we are today. It's September 6th of 2017, and you'll note in the staff report it said to August 29th. That was the initial signing of it, and it did not go out until the 6th. So I want to make that correction for the record today, that actually was mailed on September 6th. On September 6th, the requirements identified in July 10th letter had not been received by the CRA, and a certified letter was sent to the permittee, and the owner notified them effective immediately the CUP 15002 is being revoked pursuant to Tuolumne County Ordinance 1768-170. And at that time, the issuance of the conditional use permit for the compost facilities must cease immediately. Upon receiving indication from the applicant and discussions with Assistant Director Yaley that the permittee was going to appeal the process, upon receipt of that, we've chosen to allow the business to operate, not to do any harm to the business as it is. Areas of non-compliance. Let me go through these as directly as I can. Community Resource Agency Director issued the rescission letter because the facility has failed to comply or provide verification compliance with the following conditions as approved by the Planning Commission. And let me stop there. There's our job as a community resource agency is not to impose regulatory regulations that are not necessary. But it is our job to make sure we operate everybody on the same even playing field. And if there are conditions in place, whether they're folks like them or not, we have to apply them evenly and accurately across the board. And that is always going to be our goal at Community Resource. And I'll leave it at that for now. The operational plan for the Fire Prevention Code, Fire Prevention Division, condition number 30, is required to be submitted by the applicant as a normal plan. It's required by the California Fire Code, 2808, I believe is the exact section. And an operational plan and prevention plan is also required to ensure that the facility is operated in compliance with state regulatories, but also to ensure public safety and we don't have a problem with our fire or our adjacent property owners. At this time, no plan has been submitted, and we have no records of those in the Fire Prevention Bureau. The fire folks are here. Chief Avila is here, and staff, if you have any questions about that later. Payment of traffic impact mitigation fees, condition number 46. The project was conditioned prior to conducting the green waste collections or composting operations. The applicant shall pay traffic impact mitigation fee, or TIMF, another acronym, as required by our Tuolumne County Ordinance 1354. The applicant agreed on those conditions of approval, which were signed by them, to pay $3,800 on the county's current fee structure. I may note, as we read through this, that the traffic generation models for these was exclusively or extensively reviewed by staff. And if you go back to the report, the original staff report from the Planning Commission, there's great discussion about the trip generations. And in that, they discuss the trips, total trip generations, the trip being generated for the IRF across the street indirectly, and the number of trips that they felt would be additional. So specifically the 8 trips, and I'm saying 8 vehicle trips, that are new, that staff determined to be attributed to the business, are what the fees are based upon. They're not based upon the original calculations. And after reviewing this with staff, we felt this was more than appropriate, and that those 8 new trips are what the discussions are regarding, not the total trip generations. I believe, in my professional opinion, as well as Assistant Director Yaley, that the staff took a very conservative approach to assigning only 8 new vehicle trips per day as outlined in the staff report in 2015. I might add there are a few things about those fees that we are making some procedural changes. I do not support, as a matter of being in charge of this department now, extra steps. However, we do need to make some changes to make sure that the fees, once they're agreed to, are collected and paid in a timely manner. We will always work with applicants to make sure that those are paid fairly and work out some kind of system to do that. At this time, there's no such procedure in place, and we are working on that. It will take me some time where I feel comfortable we're not adding steps or requirements that we do not need to add. So part of being here can be some changes that we need to make in the future in my division, in my department. I'll go on from there. Adherence to site plan condition number 47. The approved site plan is what the Planning Commission made their findings upon. It's what the applicant agreed to operate under, and it's what the community expects us to uphold. We're asking that the applicant submit those, follow those, and any changes that they request, work with staff to do that properly and change that site plan. Fire prevention, protection, and control measures I mentioned earlier, that's condition number 50. This will be an ongoing condition as a matter of practice for fire prevention, for safety, as well as for submittals from our health department to make sure the temperatures are monitored, which is another condition, so we don't have spontaneous combustions or other issues or pathogens being passed on. So these conditions, which I've read, do work in coordination with each other, but they are not additional requirements placed on the county. They are either fire code, environmental health codes, or other state regulatory regulations. I want to make that clear to the board. Environmental health operations permits required, condition number 52. This condition will be ongoing as well for the life of the permit. Environmental Health Division has not received the information required to either be held by the applicant or in our department for reporting to the state and other agencies that we're required to as environmental health. Let me back up a little bit. I want to again state that the Fire Prevention Bureau does not have any records of anything being submitted to their department regarding condition number 50. I'll go on. Maintenance of records for environmental health, condition number 54. The condition will be ongoing for the life of the permit. Again, these will be requirements that the appellant or the permittee will be required to keep and maintain in conjunction with our environmental health department to ensure that pathogens aren't passed on, we don't have runoff that pollutes our waters, and we don't have issues that are a health and safety issue. No mechanical grindings on weekends, condition number 65. This is a simple one. The county just asked for clarification whether the machinery was going to be operated under condition 65. It restricts the hours Monday through Friday. And we're just looking for confirmation from the applicant is doing that. A simple statement in the record it's done would be fine for us. Let me move on to the appeal. On September 18, 2017, an appeal of the revocation decision was received from Mr. Justin Dambacker, along with the incorrect appeal fee. Staff decided, although it was not accurate per the current fee code, the county allowed the appellant to submit the remainder within 10 days and tried to keep us on track. The remaining appeal fee was received by our department on September 29th of 2017. In their appeal letter, let me cover a few of the things that the appellant or the permittee has covered. The attachment 2 is the letter. The permittee cited several concerns with revocation in addition to the appeal letter, which was titled, David, here is our response to your July 10th letter. I'll go through those briefly. I'm sure the appellant or the permittee is going to be covering those. The permittee identified the following concerns with the revocation of this permit. Because the county allowed the greenways to open, the traffic impact mitigation fee was not required to be paid. Because the project does not generate any new traffic, the traffic impact mitigation fees are not to be required to be paid. Various county divisions have issued permits to the division over the last several years. Therefore, compliance of the conditions are assumed to be compliance by the permittee. The county is on a witch hunt, which is promoting the success of another business by enforcing conditional use permit conditions. Conditions of approval can be changed, and the county should change the conditions requiring the payment of the traffic impact mitigation fee. The permittee and the owner have emailed and called and asked for meetings with the county and have gone unanswered. A small business in the county should not be burdened with the responsibility of complying with any conditions of approval. I think what I'll do at this time, instead of addressing those independently, is allow the board to ask us, staff, any questions before we move forward, if that's all right with the board, and you can handle that in any way you want.
Well, I want to follow this process, and it says that we need to give Mr. Holland an opportunity to
Thank you.
Present, and then you an opportunity to rebut, and then the Board of Supervisors will ask questions, right? So, Mr. Holland?
Thank you guys for having me today. So I gave you guys a pack of stuff, so as I'm talking, it'll kind of make sense as we go along. I'm not a great public speaker, so. There we go. How's that? Okay. I am Mike Holland. I am one of the owners of Greenworks. I am sorry my business partner, Justin Dambacker, is not here today. He had another meeting scheduled for today, and only this past Friday did we find out about this scheduled event, when a reporter from the Union Democrat called me and informed me of it. Most people would be outraged about not being informed of when a hearing about their business was scheduled, but we've become used to this kind of action and behavior from the county. And you can see there's a letter attached on the top where it shows clearly that it was mailed to Justin, Granite Land Holdings, which is my business, Greenworks, and for some reason TUD is listed on there. I am not sure why, but they're on there. Every time in the past the county has mailed us anything, it comes certified mail, and we have to sign for it. So I find it highly disappointing that they had no intentions of telling us about this meeting and betray it to the board as they did. Maybe they're not required to tell us. Then why write a letter and put it in the board packet? Why would they not follow the regular procedure and send it to the Planning Commission instead of straight to the Board of Supervisors? Things I don't have answers to. But Carlin did ask me right before the meeting as we walked in here if it was okay. We said we'd move forward since we're already all here anyways. What I asked the board is ask them for proof that they sent this to mail, they emailed it, they text us. There will be no proof. They had no intention of telling us about this. We would have shown up today and it would have been a one-sided story. What you will find is that this went unanswered. I'm sure it's because they do not want the truth to come out to their bosses, the board. For those of you who don't know who we are, Justin is a Dambacker. He's been here nearly 150 years, farming and living on the same ground all that time, as his grandfathers did in the past. I've been here nearly 40 years. This is the only place I know is my home. We both have kids that attend Curtis Creek School. In fact, I sit on the school board there.
We are both Eagle Scouts, and we've both always been ingrained with the belief to stand up for truth and fairness. I'd like to point out some inconsistencies in the information that's been given to you. In the board packet, it states that you did not receive our initial response to David's July 10th letter until September, when we sent the appeal to the closure letter. But attached is a screenshot showing I emailed that letter to Quincy Yaley on September 7th at 6 a.m. in the morning. Again, bad information, false information, but as I said, we've become used to it. I called David on August 24th and left him a message to call me that had all the answers to his questions. I wanted to talk to him before sending them to him. I did not want just to send this letter in, as there were some deficiencies in his staffing, and I know his staff works hard, and did not want to make it all public notice. David did call me back on August 25th with Quincy on speakerphone, I'm assuming from their office. We discussed a few things. Their main points they kept telling me is you just need to pay the fee. They kept telling me don't take it personal. I'm not sure how trying to take somebody's livelihood, their ability to feed their children, pay their bills, how I wouldn't take that personal. I kept asking we should sit down and meet in person, go over this stuff. Did not want to meet in any way, shape, or form. We have never attended a meeting with David or any other staff about Greenworks except for when they came out to our site on June 2nd. So that'd be noted. I met David once before any of this happened in his office on an unrelated subject. Nothing to do with Greenworks at all. It was about building some housing stuff. He kept telling me, let's take the weekend to think about it. We did talk about the traffic fees. Quincy read her email to me about car counts that she acquired from Waste Management. I included that email in there and I highlighted it, where she stated in 2014 there was like 12,000 cars. By 2016, their car counts were cut in half. But then they cut the meeting short, or the phone conversation short, because they had another meeting to go to. I do want to note that I did not receive their formal response on the next page on August 28th from Quincy about why they did not charge Waste Management any fees. Because throughout the summer, when we did ask for the extension, the reason why is I was leaving for Colorado when we got that letter. So I asked her to wait till we got back to deal with it. But we did email back and forth while I was gone. And I kept asking them, what did our other two competitors pay? Because they kept saying this was a fair assessment. So my answer was, okay, what did you charge our competitors? Because we're not a listed business on the traffic fee schedule. Sorry, I lost myself. So one of the reasons they said they did not charge Waste Management, as you can see on that letter dated August 28th, is because Waste Management sits on TUD's property, and therefore they cannot charge TUD. Now, if you look at your page there, on the next page, it shows your traffic mitigation schedule. There's a line item called public utilities, and there's actually a dollar amount associated with public utilities. And I'd be pretty sure that TUD would fall under a privately or publicly owned private utility. I also point out to the fact that we don't create any new traffic. We're simply, better words, stealing traffic from Waste Management. Only X amount of yards of green waste is created within the county every year. It's been pretty stable throughout time. And so our opening does not make a difference if the grass grows or the grass dies in your yard. If you're going to deal with it, you're going to take it someplace and deal with it. So we felt we fell under Exception 1 of the traffic fee schedule. But again, I was told, nope, you do not. So I'd like to point to a letter dated on the next page of September 30th from Renee, talking about 3 things not complete on our permit. Now, David spoke incorrectly. We opened on July 11th. It was in the newspaper. Justin sat in Mike Laird's office prior to that date, had a meeting with him. I believe Renee was in attendance for that meeting. They picked the day we were going to open, and we opened. So it's no shocking surprise that we were open or we snuck it in. It was all over the front page of the newspaper. You're welcome to go pull the records. In fact, we even thank Mike Laird for his help on the project in that article. So for the staff to pretend like they didn't know we're open, it's hard for me to believe that, since they were especially collecting permit fees. So if you look on Renee's list, as she mentioned, there was 3 items to go over. One had to do with signage, because we kept putting small signs out on the road, because we were open, obviously, because we could not get a larger sign. One had to do with the traffic mitigation feature, which we have adamantly from the beginning have tried to fight. And the other one had to do with the adhering to the site plan. I'm not sure what she was talking about in there, but it's in there. I know the county in early 2017 held at least 2 meetings about our business. I know for a fact TUD, our competitor's landlord, was invited to these meetings, but nobody called us about these meetings. So how did this list grow larger over time? Why could they not provide it when I asked? I had several phone conversations with David in the early 2017, prior to the June 2nd hunt for violations. I got answers from him like, could not provide a list. I don't have a list. Let me talk to my department heads. I'll get back to you. And the final answer I got, we need to do an inspection to find violations. We actually said, okay, we have nothing to hide, come on out. We agreed to this June 2nd meeting. So, but clearly they had a letter from September 3rd, 2015, if there was violations that were listed right there. Those 3 things. So if they weren't cleared up, why could they not provide that? I asked the county, what did this meeting cost for everyone to show up there? Quincy stated on the June 2nd on-site that they were reviewing many permits in doing this, but something tells me we were the only one. We point-blank asked her, is this just about the traffic fees? The answer was no. But that is truly what this is all about. I would like you to compare the Renee 2015 list with the David 2016 list. How did it grow? I hope at least they used our compost to make it grow. But seriously, did they lose the paperwork like the fire prevention plan? Next is a screenshot off of my computer that shows the date we created that document for the fire prevention plan. And of course, we would not send it to the fire department. We sent it to our planner, Renee. It was her responsibility to distribute it to whatever departments, I guess, needed it. As you can see, that document has not been changed since 2015 when it was created. Their July 10th letter states that we are not providing information on the compost or the input to the county. But again, this is false. We have been issued 3 environmental health permits to operate. We have paid fees every year, totaling, I think, roughly around $2,100. Most of the fees is to cover the cost of 4 annual inspections. To date, we received 1 inspection. Now, I know the ladies in Rob are understaffed and overworked. I'm not upset about them not getting to the inspections and not being done. But don't tell me we're not providing request information when asked. The county showed up for their first inspection that I know of, unless they were doing it without us around. After their June 2nd meeting, Sheila came, I think the new trainee lady, I don't know what her name was, and 2 people from Cal Recycle on the state level showed up at our facility. We spent about an hour or so there, walked around, talked, showed them the documentation, which David's referring to, which is laid out in the Cal Recycle rules about temperature procedures, turning. You have to heat the compost to kill the pathogens, all those things. Everybody looked at it, said, great. I asked the state ladies point blank to their face, do we have any issues? Their answer to me was no, everything looks fine. Sheila asked me to make copies of the paperwork and get them to her. I saw her a few weeks later on a septic job, and I gave them to her, the hard copies that she asked for. So anytime the county's ever asked us for paperwork, we've provided it. But they don't ever ask for anything. It doesn't state in our conditions that we're supposed to show up on January 1st and provide them with documentation. We're supposed to give them what they ask for when they ask for it. And we've always done that. These are just a few of the examples of the false information and what we feel is a bias and very discriminatory against a small business locally owned here in the county. From day one, some of you may remember, we have had an uphill fight with the county, telling our neighbors we're going to collect 50,000 yards of trash and compost it. Again, this is false. They claim the compost would wash off their property and destroy the creek. Keep in mind, this is the material that you spend money on to help your plants grow. Again, this is all false. Last year, the wettest winter on record, not even 1 gallon worth of material is washed off our piles. This is why it doesn't match the site plan. Mike Laird had asked me when we went to do the grading if we'd please put the piles on contour. So that way, if anything ever washed off there, we have a drainage pond or a storage pond, whatever you want to call it, on site. It would wash off and end up in that pond. It is very close to the site plan, but slightly different because matching a site plan that's drawn long before this process doesn't always match what's actually physically on the ground. And again, if David would have taken the time to sit and talk with us, he would have known all this. Again, the county's not interested in the truth about defending their business partners' waste management. To prove my point, there's a copy of an email from one of your department heads stating that the county will not support our business. And I've attached a photocopy of the county's website several months after this email showing we're not listed on it. I did check over the weekend, and magically we have all of a sudden appeared. Another department head has told us straight to our face, we will never allow you to harm the business across the street. I find it very disheartening the county can't even follow its own rules. The general plan goal, 4F, has several points to it. And if you read it, it says they're supposed to encourage recycling of products, materials, support the efforts of agencies, businesses, and general public to reduce the waste stream. That's exactly what our business does. We're pulling material out of the waste stream and we're recycling it. It talks about how we're supposed to expedite permits, the county's supposed to in the general plan. None of that happened with us. You're supposed to support existing and encourage the development of new recycling facilities. Again, none of that happens with us. Okay. The county clearly applies the rules to waste management. When they were opening their green waste yard, known as the MRF, or whatever you guys call it, or the Earth Resource Facility, they applied these type of rules to them. I'm not sure it's because if they're receiving $100,000 or close to $100,000 a year in free services from them, or if they just like them better. But if you look at the approved permit from Waste Management's green waste yard, county staff wrote this. The proposed Earth Resource Facility will be added as an additional service under the existing Cal Recycle MRF agreement with the county. This will allow the county oversight of various aspects of the facility, such as rates and end markets for the recyclable material products. This will also allow the county to apply for grants for equipment for the facility, as grant givers would most likely consider it a government-supported operation. This came directly out of your guys' approved packet for the operation. And then the staff found a way to justify not charging any traffic fees. Not because of the reason Quincy told me in her email, or that David told the reporter in the newspaper, but this is what they actually came up with. What is the expected traffic impacts on Tuolumne Road would be minimal because of the potential closure of Sierra Pacific Industry Slash Pile. The PROS project offers a similar service for a fee and is located within a half a mile of the current slash pile. Existing traffic traveling on Sierra Pacific Industry Slash Pile would be diverted to Cal Sierra Slash Pile, which is exactly what I've been saying from day one. We're not creating new traffic. We're simply taking the traffic away from the business across the street. If you pull your green waste numbers throughout the county, you're going to see this evidence, because if you went off their theory, there would be a huge spike in green waste collection within our county, and you're not going to find that. More evidence that we don't create new traffic, we're simply stealing theirs. In fact, Quincy's own email, where it shows the waste management numbers as of 2016 were cut in less than half. 2017, they could even be further down. I do not know that. But I don't understand why it's okay to apply these rules to competitors. The county wrote this, I didn't come up with this, but then when we use it to justify our position, we're told that's not acceptable. The county had all this information in their files. They chose not to use it. Why? I don't know. They knew it was there. They knew the reason why they didn't charge them any fees, but yet they've gone with a different theory. Please keep in mind, to our response to David's July 10th letter, we asked the county for copies of all things related to us to help prove what we were saying. Quincy received this by email. Dave received this by regular mail. It's in your board packet. To date, we have received nothing from the county. The county has turned a blind eye and has ignored all of this because the truth will expose the lies behind the biased behavior. At the end of the day, all we've been doing is running a good, clean business, a green business, taking material out of the waste stream, turning it into the best soil in this county. We provide jobs. We spend money with our local businesses. We give back to the community. Like on this Saturday, Veterans Day, we've always allowed vets to dump for free on Veterans Day since the day we've opened. We've donated $20 Elementary. We donate to the Master Gardeners. We donate to the Sonora High Ag Department. The supervisors need to send a clear message to staff that their personal bias agendas will not be tolerated, and it's their job to help grow the economy and stop this type of behavior. Thank you guys for your time.
I'd like to ask for staff rebuttal to that information.
I think what I'll do at this point, I'll make some clarifications versus going point by point. I don't feel that that's necessary at this point, and I don't think it's healthy. So what I am going to do is cover the things that we've talked about. And one thing I should have covered, which I missed, was the mailings that were sent out, the packet that we have here. We do have all the certified mailings, which are required when you're sending out notices. We did mail to the same addresses listed on all those. It's in your attachment to every one of these in normal mailings. Those were sent out. Many of the certified mails were returned as refused, but we also mail regular mail, and those were not returned. That's typical of any operation. We'll continue to send out those dual mailings, and I'll let the board make their assumption from there. The one thing I will say, staff would never go looking for violations. That's not what we're here. We were invited out. We talked with Mr. Holland on numerous occasions. And it was that cooperation that we went out to do an inspection to see if I could work through this. That has always been our intent. It has always been. It is not the intent to be in front of you today, but unfortunately, that's where we are. To be able to work through these things and be able to come up with a plan together was always our intent. To have meetings that repeat themselves with the same things are not fruitful and only cause more problems. We did meet with Mr. Holland. We did talk with him on the phone numerous times, but at the point they're not effective anymore, it's time to end those conversations. So the inspections that were done with the Cal Recycle folks, those were training, and Mr. Holland was very warm to our staff. He welcomed out there. It was, from what my staff said, that there was a good walkthrough. They were quite happy with the change of approach from the permittee. They felt very comfortable. And they went through the whole site and came up with a list of things that I promised Mr. Holland we would to make certain what we said was accurate. And the items before you are based upon that inspection and provided to the applicant so we can work through these. These are actually very simple things to work through, very simple. You have the information regarding the fees before you. We have an ordinance in place, and I'll leave it at that for those things. I think best at this time, we can go ahead and answer the questions from the board.
So, start, John.
Happy to go first. First, I want to disclose I did spend probably over an hour with Mr. Holland discussing the issues and many of them that he brought up today. I was involved when you first started the project. I know personally I invested a great deal of time trying to help this go through because it wasn't one of those slam dunk. I think we had over 60 letters or some odd of opposition of what you were trying to do. And I know my work with the staff and that they were trying to figure out a way to get it done and to the best of their ability and make everybody surrounding the area happy. And that's what ended up with the conditional use permit. Now, the question that I have for you, Mr. Holland, is you had the conditional use permit. You agreed to it. You understood that that's what you would have to do to operate your business. And I think we ended our conversation the other day, was a couple weeks ago or so, that you'd be willing to pay the mitigation fees if we could figure out a way to get you a sign out on the road. And I think I told you, in fact, I know I told you that I would do whatever I could within the rules and regulations that we had to get the sign out there. And I left there with a pretty good feeling that we could resolve all of this if we could get that done. So maybe I was mistaken, but that's what I left our meeting with that day. And I did relay that to Mr. Gonzalez, and because I'm not staff, I left it in his hands. So where it went there, I believe you guys had a discussion. I'm not positive. I don't know that because I wasn't involved in it. But I have to go back to the beginning on this. You've alluded to a lot of things, a lot of wrongdoings. And I didn't see it when I was involved in it, when we were trying to get your operation going. I went out to the Dambacker site and smelled the dirt and went to your site and spent, like I said, a lot of time because I, in my heart, wanted you guys to get in business because I do believe that what you provide is a very good service to the county. We did have a discussion about the analogy between the trips. Now, we didn't come to agreement on that. I think that it's a business that they were very fair in establishing the number of trips. You have your opinion on it, but it's part of the development agreement that you agreed to. Very simply, it says on those items that's what you would do. And if you haven't done it, then in my mind, you're in violation of it. Now, is there a sinister plot out there to make you be unsuccessful? I don't believe so. In my heart, I don't believe so because I know what I've done to go through to try to make you successful. So my position is that if it's in the development agreement and you don't follow the development agreement, then we're obligated to take action if you're not willing to do that, to do what you agreed to. It's pretty simple for me. That's where I'm at.
Looking either direction for comments?
Make a comment.
Okay.
Yeah. First thing, I think it's very unfortunate to be here that we've gotten to this point. And it's a difficult spot to be in as a board member sitting here. I know Mr. Holland, and I know our staff, and I don't think anybody wants this. That being said, we have to make a decision and go somewhere here. I think what we're dealing with is, to be blunt, is a pissing match. And I think both parties have some legitimate points. Mr. Holland is not always the easiest guy. He's a little stubborn. And I understand why in some cases. And I also understand our staff have to follow the rules and do their jobs and do what they're obligated to do. And I don't want to see these guys shut down. I don't want to see the community lose their facility as a resource. And I especially don't want it to reflect culture and everything that we're trying to do in the CRA is improve customer service, improve all those things that Mike was reading in the general plan. I want that to be real. But you guys have to follow the rules. I also understand your concern about waste management or any potential competitor not being applied to the same standard. It's unfortunate that we're hearing about this at this stage, and I don't know what legal, I guess this is my question, what legal recourse is there for modifying conditions to an existing permit? Because it sounds like that's what he was trying to do, but we never went down that avenue. And because of the standoff for so long, you guys brought it to this level, and now we're looking at it. But it's, I'm curious if, I mean, personally, I'm looking for another option here, a way to compromise and figure out how to get everybody to agree, and let's move on and get this resolved.
So I think there's a question in there, and I'll let staff.
Yeah, how to modify a conditional use permit.
Yeah,
Is that
if
a
we
process, and what do you
can.
have to do? Because that's what he was trying to do in the beginning, it seems.
Well, in terms of modifying conditions to an approved conditional use permit, there is a process and a procedure to do that. It involves submitting an application, putting those forward, and then it would go to the Planning Commission with a notice public hearing to evaluate those changes. With regard to the traffic impact mitigation fee, the county staff and their expertise has set 8 trips as the standard. If Mr. Holland wanted to provide a traffic study which showed something different, then that would be something that the county could review.
So I've had that discussion more than 3 months ago with Mr. Holland and explained to him that it was not my recommendation to do that. The study would cost more than the fees. And it is not anything to do, it's not personal at all in any way on our staff. We're trying to do the right thing for the right reasons and set a level playing field for all businesses when they agree to their conditions, that we don't treat people differently. These fees for the utility company on utility ground, it's different. The report that's in there, and since it was brought up, that's from TUD. Portions of what he read was from a TUD agenda item. So the second to the last page in there, that's, if you look at the bottom, it's actually from Tuolumne Utilities District. It's not our item. So the item that was before that is something that's an excerpt out of some piece of staff report that I can't see. It does have some indications. But I will tell you, in our professional opinion, as Quincy and I, we really did look at this long and hard, Supervisor Royce. And if it were gone through in today, we would still feel that that's very accurate and a very fair assumption. Those fees are something that's established by the board. It is our job to equally enforce those to their best of our ability is equitably for every business that we possibly can, so we create a level playing field and not to create an unfair advantage for any facility. As you'd stated before, none of this is pleasant, but you and the board and our community expect us to do certain things, and that's why we're here today. It's an unfortunate situation, but we've done our best to try to work this through. I can assure you. I think unless you have any other questions, I hope I answered that and responded in a fashion. Do we have an ability to go through it? I do not have that authority, and I've repeated that multiple times.
Okay. If there are no other board questions, do you have a question?
Yeah, I did not have this clear in my mind. Mr. Holland made what I think are relatively serious accusations in terms of discriminatory practice. Someone does this, someone doesn't do that. Is it true or is it not true? And I just, yes or no, and then maybe I'll have a follow-on question.
Supervisor Handel, are you relating this to
Well,
personal
TUD doesn't,
interaction?
TUD doesn't pay this, and I have to pay this.
Many of those things are based upon zoning, and Quincy had the most discussions about these fees. Give me a second.
Good afternoon. One of the things that's important to remember here is that when an applicant comes into the county and asks what is the permit process for a business, is it's site dependent and it's zoning dependent. And so oftentimes we have a business that may be similar to something else that occurs in the county, but based on the location that they want to do it, the zoning is different, which would trigger different permits or would not trigger permits at all. And so I think that that may be the situation in this case, and that Mr. Holland and I discussed several other slash sites in the county, but based on their location and their zoning, didn't trigger a use permit, didn't require an applicant to go through a process, which would then result in conditions of approval, resulting in a traffic impact mitigation fee schedule. So I think that's important to remember when we're trying to compare this business to other businesses in the county. What have those other businesses been required to do? It's important to look at the zoning, and other things operationally about a business may or may not trigger certain permit thresholds as well.
Supervisor Handel, I just want to express this upon a different matter. Are we as CRA treating Mr. Holland differently? Absolutely not.
All right. I am assuming that there is some public comment in the audience. Can I see a show of hands of how many people would like to speak, just so I can get a sense? Oh, only a small group. All right. Please come to the podium. And if you could hold your comments to 3 or 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Thank you.
A lot less.
Thank you.
My name is Diesel with Diesel's Landscaping. I've been dumping slash for 30 years around here, starting with the mill for free. And I've had some issues with Cal Sierra. They're not very friendly to businesses here. And when they, Mr. Holland, Mr. Dan Backer opened up, we were, as businessmen, we were treated like businessmen should be. There were no time restrictions. They were fair, they were helpful, and to this community they're helpful. This traffic thing, in my eyes, if I may make a comment, is we all go down Tuolumne Road. You either turn left or you turn right. So all the vehicles have always gone to that point. Either turn left or you turn right. So as far as more vehicles being on Tuolumne Road, no. From Standard, no. Instead of turning right, you go up a little farther, you turn right on Tuolumne Road, go down and turn left. So I don't see the difference in in traffic, period. But I do see a friendlier business to deal with that's promoting more business in this county and trying to, with the economic blight that we have here, we don't need to be shutting down businesses. We need to make it business friendly and fair. Of course, they say it's fair. The guys figure it out. But we can't lose this guy. This business is really, really, this is going to set a precedence in our county from here on out. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
It works. I'm Douglas DeSoto. I own property at 18446 Wards Ferry Road, downwind from the project here. I rent the property out, and my tenant could not be here. He wrote a letter. He had a doctor's appointment. And I'd like to read it into the record. To whom it may concern, I am writing this letter because I cannot be present at the hearing today. This letter is in regards to noise complaints made by James Nippenberg towards the green waste disposal site on Eagle Ridge. During summer, they continuously ran the tub grinder into evening hours and weekends, and weekday heavy equipment and tub grinder well after business hours, signed by James Nippenberg. And my concern when they first went through this was fire mitigation, because my house is downwind from the facility, and we've been having a lot of fires. Things are getting drier. When I see his illegal signs on the road, I think, there it is. I feel very strongly that it's important to obey the law, and I do whether I get caught or not. He said he was going to do stuff. He should have done it. If he didn't, he didn't. I do, and I don't see why other people shouldn't. That's my feeling. Thank you very much for your consideration. You got a hard job, and I don't envy you at all.
Thank you.
I have, after done, I do have some more questions.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? Thank you, sir.
Well, I was at every Tuolumne County Planning Commission hearing that his company was subjected to. And as I recall, you went through more crap than anybody else I have ever seen. And that includes that birthing center. And there were 8 bazillion people here to complain. There were going to be rats. There were going to be vermin. There was going to be the smell. There was going to be this, that, and whatever. So I saw the newspaper article when you finally got open. So I waited a few weeks and I went out there. And it was absolutely lovely. And it smelled really earthy. It was really nice. And I've been out there a couple times since. So I actually think you're a good business. I think you do a good job. But, dude, write the check. There are rules you're supposed to follow, so follow them. And your little speech today didn't sway me at all, because it seemed a lot of kind of blaming and shaming, which I didn't find effective. So I've seen the changes in the CRA in the past year, because, as you know, I've had several complaints about that department. So I've seen a lot more openness and transparency, and I think Mike Laird was the planner at the Planning Commission. So he's been gone for a while. Everybody else is kind of gone, and we're kind of starting new. But anyway, dude, just write the check.
Is it?
A couple things. I was wondering, it looked like there was a couple discrepancies. Is there a list of communication? It seemed like there was a lot more communications, I guess, by the CRA. They were claiming there was more. I was just wondering, is there a record of that?
So I believe I heard, yeah.
Because it seemed like there was a big...
That all of the written correspondence, you can correct me, was sent by certified mail.
Since David and I came on board and began looking into the sign issue as requested by the permittee earlier this year, and then began looking into the use permit, correspondence from CRA initially from when we came on was sent via certified mail in first class. It's typical what we do with any code compliance case. We followed that procedure.
So there's a record.
Is there a record that we can see? I mean, like dates and times of when stuff went out? Because it seemed like there was only a couple interactions when Mr. Holland spoke, but then it seemed like there was a bunch of other interactions when David spoke. I was just wondering if anyone had a record of the interactions.
As a regular course of business, we do not keep track of everything or keep a record of a tally of all those things, Madam Chair.
I was just wondering.
What we do is we have a file of everything that's put together, and anybody in the public is welcome to take a look at that at any time.
How would we
We
do
do
that?
have all these here. You're welcome to come to CRA at any time. We'll be happy to show you the entire file.
Oh, great. Thank you.
For your business for today, Madam Chair, we do have all that here, copies of everything. In your board packet, we felt that was what was appropriate to include every piece of correspondence and every email and logs of every phone call. I thought was counterproductive, but we are happy to answer any questions about that.
Thank you.
And I had one more question.
So just to answer that, the board
Sure.
packet is almost 95 pages long. And I'm going to say, because I did read a lot of the communication in here, and there was probably easily 30 pages of communication back and forth, I'm guessing. I know there was an awful lot of the communication.
It's also available online.
Pardon me?
It's available online.
Right, and so that's what I was going to get to. That is all available online.
Okay, thank
Because it
you.
was part of the packet that was presented.
And then just one other concern was there was something about triggers for the pricing for the $3,800 for the fee, that there was a list of triggers, and I was just wondering, is that list available to see what the triggers are and how it added up to the $3,800?
So I believe he's referring to our traffic impact mitigation fee schedule, which is available on our Community Resources Agency website. And I'd just like to add that the Community Resources Agency is on the 4th floor at 48 Yaney, and we're open from 8 to 4.
Great, thanks.
Okay. So I'd also add that I had 2 individuals that did call me and in support of the business that could not be here to share that. I just want to share that with my fellow supervisors. So Supervisor Gray.
Yes,
you have-
because somehow I got to wrap my head around this and get
Yeah.
back to
We need
what
to.
we're here for. Mr. Holland, you're appealing all of the conditions that are allegedly you're in violation of. When I look at this, it's condition 30, condition 46, condition 50, 52, 54, and 65. Are-
47.
Are all of those ones that you feel that you're in compliance with, but
I'm looking for that list. Hold on.
okay. I can,
Here it
can,
is. I got it.
okay.
So, I guess I don't understand how, if we're not providing them information, if they've never asked for it, how we don't provide it. So,
Okay.
I don't know if we're in violation of that or not. I mean, they're welcome to the records anytime they like, and they received them this summer when they came to the visit.
Okay, so condition 30 has to do with the fire prevention plan. That was part.
I'd be happy to email them another copy of it if they would
Condition,
like.
now, because I have a question for staff for that. Would that normally go to the fire department, or would that go to CRA department? That maybe Mr. Avila can answer that for me.
I can answer it for Paul, but normally the copies are received in either agency and they're forwarded to both. And
Okay.
to this point, I just spoke with Chief Avila staff this morning, and to this point, we have no record of anything
Okay,
submitted.
so you could apply, you could be in compliance with this condition by simply sending a copy of the fire prevention plan. So
Yes, again, we
Okay,
can send
well,
it again. Yeah, no problem.
If you,
It's on
I'm
the
trying to get,
computer.
you're willing to do that. Okay. We get to item 46, the traffic mitigation fees. You're not in agreement to the trip counts, based on what the staff, I think it says 6 trip.
8.
8, okay. So my question for you, do you get more than 8 trips a day, or do you get less than 8 trips a day on an average?
I think it just depends on the day.
Well, on the average, just,
I don't know. We don't keep track of cars.
okay, but you keep track of collection,
We
don't
keep
you?
track of yardage. But
And so
then
a
again,
car has to bring it there.
Well, yeah, but you may have 1 yard, and maybe Mrs. Brennan has 10 yards. So
It
I don't
has,
really
it has
know.
nothing to do with how much the person has, it's the number of trips. So we get down to the trip count. If it's 8 a day or more, then that's what you agreed to on the condition. We get down to the number 47, adherence to the site plan condition. This expected to follow not only ensure compliance. Now, this is my question for staff. You're saying that he has not complied to that condition, and how did we determine that was?
Item number 47, is that
Yes.
what you're referring to? There's just some deviations in site plan. I think that can be easily worked through with the permittee that's willing to work with us and adjust
Okay.
the site plan. As long as it's not major, we're willing to work with them,
Can we
just as I've told them in
redline
person.
or redraw the site plan to bring you in compliance with that? No
Yeah,
problem.
because we changed it for Mike Laird, because he
Okay.
asked us to put it
All
on
right,
contour,
so let's do a copy and send it. Then we get down to item 50, fire protection control measures. Condition will be ongoing for the life of the permit. Permit is not providing fire protection control measures, including fire lanes. How did we come to that conclusion?
Site inspection.
Okay.
At the time that we did that in July or August,
Okay.
whenever that was.
Can we tell him specifically what he needs to do to come into compliance with that?
Fire prevention staff is willing to do that and meet with him in person to do that. After I spoke with them this morning, they're willing to do that
Okay.
if you'll just sit down with them. It's
we
easily
can-
complied
we
with.
can resolve that. Environmental help operation permit requirements, condition 52. Mr. Koslevy, question for you. How did we come to a conclusion that he's in violation of this item?
Rob, if you'd like to come up front, I can probably answer it for him on the way up here, but.
Well, he's the environmental health guy.
That's fine.
But you
Have
can
him
answer
come
it
up.
fine.
No,
Okay.
have him come up. That's fine. He's here for a
Come
reason.
on up, Rob.
Like your tie, by the way.
Okay, Rob Koslevy, Director of Environmental Health for Tuolumne County. My solid waste inspector, Sheila Lilly, who has been mentioned a couple of times by Mr. Holland and has inspected the facility, I believe is the correct one to answer this direct question.
Okay.
If I may address both 52 and 54
Yes,
at the
please.
same time. Okay. As Mr. Holland stated, we have only conducted one inspection of his facility, which I will only get into why if you want to know. But we've done one inspection. We did it with Cal Recycle. They were in town for 2 days conducting multiple inspections. His is one of them. So how we came to the conclusion that he was not in compliance with some of the elements of both 52 and 54 was through that inspection and through records that were subsequently provided to us after the inspection. They were not, to my recollection, on site at time of the inspection, which is okay. We make allowances for that as long as they're provided after the fact. So review of those records is how we came into the conclusion that they were incomplete
Okay.
and therefore not in
Did you
full
tell
compliance.
Mr. Holland specifically what he was not in compliance with the items that he needed to do to be in compliance?
I do not know if he received a copy of the report. So, if I may.
Yes, sure.
Okay. Our inspection, our submittal of the inspection report to Cal Recycle, we do it electronically, all kind of coincided with the culmination of this. So there was kind of a, let's wait and see where this goes. And then we'd be happy to sit down with Mike and talk about where the records are incomplete and what else would need to be done to make them complete records. But since this permit thing came on the table, we kind of just held back to wait to see where this went.
Okay, so, Mr. Holland, you haven't received any information from, if you got that information in a timely manner, would you look at it, would you comply to that in order to be in compliance with 52 and 54?
Yes.
Okay. Item 65, the non-mechanical grinding on weekends, condition 65. A question for staff. Do we have any proof other than the letter of the gentleman that just spoke that they're grinding on weekends and hours that they're not supposed to be grinding?
So during our site inspection in June, we noticed a sign that the business was open 7 days a week. We noticed it was open 7 days a week. There was a condition in the use permit that explicitly said no grinding on the weekends. So staff is simply asking the question, are you grinding on weekends, since the sign showed that the business was open?
Okay. I'm sure you're open 7 days a week. Are you grinding on weekends?
We do not. The
Okay.
noise that's probably being heard comes from the waste management or the P&J grinder across the street.
Okay.
They grind
So-
on weekends.
So we're
We're
going to
allowed
be
to.
assured you're not going to be grinding on weekends. And if you say you're not going to grind on weekends, we can check you out on a weekend occasionally. And so you're going to be in compliance.
You can come
of-
every weekend, in fact.
Of
In fact, we should
65.
schedule that.
Yeah.
Every weekend.
I will, 60 miles. Okay. So
Just you,
here-
John. I want to see you
maybe
every
I can
weekend.
split it up. All right, so here's what I'm getting to. We have some really simple things
I agree.
to get taken care of. Staff has already said, through my questioning, that they will give you all the help and all the information that you need to bring you into compliance with 47, 50, 52, 54, and 65. That's an easy one. The thing that they can't get you in compliance with is the traffic mitigation fees.
Okay.
And I believe that because you signed and agreed to those traffic mitigation fees, you're obligated to pay them. You can't come back after the fact. It's like I bought a car for $1,000 and I got payments at $10 a month and car's not worth $1,000, I'm not going to pay it anymore. It doesn't work that way. You sign on the dotted line that you're going to pay that, and I believe you're obligated to do that. So what I would like to propose as a motion is that we uphold the findings as a board, but give give you and the staff the opportunity to work together to resolve all of these issues, and you pay the traffic mitigation fees. And I know in my heart they're going to do the best to try to help you through that. It's the way that we have to work together to get it done, because you have a good business and it's a benefit. But we got to follow the rules, and you agreed to the rules, and it's our job to help you through that. Maybe we haven't done a good job to do that, but we are now. And I believe I have staff's full, go ahead, can't do it that way? All
I just
right.
want to clarify that if I understand you correctly, what you would like this motion to be is to reverse the conditional use revocation with conditions to bring the project into compliance.
Yes.
And what staff would request is that you put a deadline on that.
Okay. Is 45 days too long to bring this into compliance?
No, that's fine.
45 days?
Does that work for staff?
Does that work for staff? No?
Fine with us. That's
Okay.
perfectly fine.
All right. So is that a clear enough motion for the board?
Are there any questions?
I'll second it.
So we have a
I-
motion.
I have a comment.
All right.
This whole thing is not about one business or another business. We don't pick businesses, okay? Think your business is a good business. This whole hearing today is about a process and going through the process. You may not like the process, but that's the process that exists. If we want to change the process, that's a whole different story. You don't just choke down the process because you don't like it. And once you do, I want to echo what Supervisor Gray said. Once you make an agreement with somebody, you live by the agreement. Okay, don't come in later with alibis and all of that stuff. These kinds of things cost the county a lot of money in staff time and everything, and that's staff time that's not going to other people that have problems too. So I want to encourage you to work with the staff. I have all the confidence in the world in the new leadership in CRA, and quite frankly, I know if you work with them that they'll find a way to make your business successful. But it's going to have to be within our process, and it's going to have to be in accordance with the agreements that you've made. So with that, I'm willing to support Supervisor Gray's motion.
Thank you. And I would just echo those comments and appreciate that Supervisor Gray in particular, I think, has shown that we as a county board we believe in competition. We believe in having businesses thrive in Tuolumne County. But there are, I think we've all heard it, when we sign a document that we're going to do certain things, we need to follow through and do those things. So I'm going to have a lot of confidence that this is going to be resolved. Thank Supervisor Gray for his motion and going through those items in a very clear and articulate fashion. So we have a motion with from Supervisor Gray, a second from Supervisor Rotifer.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. A second from Supervisor Hanfield. I will look to the right. All of those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes.
I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank the committee for coming, and we are happy with the results moving forward to proceed to help in the business. So thank you very much for your time.
This is a closed session, public employee appointment, Authority Government Code Section 54957B1, and the title is Director of Library Services.
Is there any public comment? Thank you.
Well, since you asked, do you expect to report out?
No, we do not.
Well, then do a really nice interview so that someone will last more than 4 days, please.